Hey, this is Kevin Kelly, and you are listening to the Stardom Cast.
This is Jesse from Club Venus from Stardom, and you're watching Stardom Cast.
Hello guys and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Cutting, and I'm joined as ever by Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how are you, good sir?
Rob Goodwin, I am phenomenal as always. Thanks for asking. Another great week, another fantastic weekend. One little bump in the road, but before we get into that, let's talk about you. How's everything going with the new job? I know you've been there for about 2 months. How's everything going with football/soccer? I know that you've been back at the gym, so how's everything going with that?
Yeah, not too bad. I'll be honest, I'm currently sitting with a hot water bottle on my back because I may have pushed it slightly too much at football last night, but it's all good. It's all good. I'm getting healthier. I'm dropping some weight, so that's always a plus. I am slightly concerned because I'm at that stage now where some of my clothes are far too big and some of them are still too small. So I'm pretty much living in 3 outfits at the moment. But, you know, it's a nice problem to have. I hadn't realised actually how much weight I'd put on, but we're coming out of the end of it, which is good. In terms of the new job, a little bit of a funny story. So I was talking, I don't know how, but the conversation organically in the staff room turned to wrestling. And I don't know, I didn't instigate this, I hadn't mentioned anything. I don't even remember how it happened. I think it was because a kid was wearing a knee brace and one of the teachers said he looked like Stone Cold Steve Austin. So the sort of conversation moved from there. And we were chatting about it and stuff. And then the woman who was next to me, as you know, people will do, just went, "Oh, my cousin was a wrestler." And you sort of think, okay, cool, yeah. I'm not going to have known him. I didn't know him, as it turns out. His name was Robbie Dynamite, which is a great name. But I was looking at his cage match. He's got an 8.9 average rating,
Whoa.
which is quite impressive. And then I was looking at his list of opponents. He has got some very interesting opponents. Now, most of his stuff is the British Indies, but he's also done stuff for Dragon Gate when Dragon Gate briefly did their UK sort of expansion. That's the less successful version of Dragon Gate USA, and he also wrestled in Noah. So yeah, I was very surprised. His list of opponents: Tommy End, otherwise known as Aleister Black, David Finlay Jr., which I thought was quite impressive, and then, apropos of nothing, Jushin Thunder Liger. I was like, what the hell is this? But yes, he's retired now. But I was like, that's so weird. I was supposed to be doing work, but I was just literally trawling this guy's cage match profile. I'm just going to get it up now because I know there was somebody else that I was like, this is wild. But yeah, so we were chatting about that, and then I found out that one of my colleagues, their cousin, wrestled Jushin Thunder Liger. I think that is quite an impressive claim to fame, Matt.
Yeah, sure is one of the greatest junior light heavyweights of all time. Someone that basically changed the way we look at professional wrestling over the last 30 years. Yeah, that's definitely an accomplishment not to breeze over. So tip my hat to that gentleman. So that's pretty cool, my friend. Sometimes you never know who you know. You know what I mean?
Well, just looking at his cage match now, so he retired in 2018. I'm sorry, I oversold him. his rating is 8.5, not 8.9. I apologize. So, like, you've got Hideki Hazuki. He's wrestled Hasegawa. He's wrestled Dean Allmark, absolute stalwart of the British Indies. Who else has he? Yeah, Tommy End in ICW. Minoru Tanaka. He's wrestled. Like, there's so many random people on this list that's just like, what is going on? I honestly cannot believe the amount of just random people on this list. El Ligero, unfortunately. Who else have we got as I go down this list? Wrestled David Finlay a lot. They seem to have been paired off in a load of house shows. Rampage Brown, he's wrestled, for those familiar with the British Indies. Who else have we got? Avalanche. I'm assuming that's not the Avalanche of WCW. But yes, I thought that was Hiromu Takahashi. That was the other one he's wrestled. Which, like, that's a completely random one. In fact, he's wrestled Hiromu Takahashi on several occasions. So yes, that was my interesting little tidbit. How is everything with you?
Good, my friend. Again, great weekend. Kind of a little bump in the road, my man. I'm sure you saw one. CM Punk blew out his tricep and will not be on WrestleMania, my friend. So heartbroken, because we all know that his big dream was to main event WrestleMania, and we thought we had the perfect storm, my friend, with all the awesome things we have going on in our neck of the woods. And Philly Mania, we thought Punk coming back to WrestleMania, he would have his WrestleMania main event match with another former Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion, and in my opinion, the best wrestler on the WWE roster, other than Io Shirai, of course, and one Seth Rollins. So it's like, just absolutely gutted that, it just that was kind of the goal for him. But unfortunately, it's just as he said in his promo on Monday, it was not in the cards. However, Rob, the good thing, my friend, is this past Sunday night, after trailing by 17 points at halftime, the San Francisco 49ers pulled off one of the biggest comebacks in the history of the NFL playoffs, and now will be going to the Super Bowl to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Rob, I know that you don't follow American football that much. However, the Kansas City Chiefs are a phenomenon for several different reasons. Have you been paying attention to what's going on with the Kansas City Chiefs in the past few months?
Now, the Kansas City Chiefs, I know, are a very good team. I know Patrick Mahomes, I believe his name is, the quarterback. Yes. But I'll be perfectly honest, like most people, I'm afraid I am familiar with the whole Tay Swift involvement in the Kansas City Chiefs, which I imagine is what you're alluding to.
Yes. Now, their head coach, Andy Reid, is one of, if not the greatest coaches current day in football. Patrick Mahomes, I don't think many people will argue that he's the greatest quarterback in current day football. I mean, he's absolutely fantastic. This is his fourth Super Bowl he's going to, and they won the Super Bowl last year, so they have a chance to be, I think, one of only 5 or 6 franchises in the 58 years of the Super Bowl to win back-to-back championships. Now, I think the San Francisco 49ers, their strategy is not to outcoach Andy Reid. It's not to keep Patrick Mahomes in the pocket and keep him throwing and put some pressure on us. I think people go about this team the wrong way. I think you need to stop Taylor Swift. Now, obviously this podcast goes all over the world. San Francisco 49ers owner Jed York, I am giving you the game plan of how to defeat the Kansas City Chiefs. There's a certain gentleman that has a house in he lives in 2 different countries, sir. He lives in your country in England, and I believe he has a house in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is not that far away from Las Vegas, where the Super Bowl is. You need to bring in the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne, to run interference on Taylor Swift so the 49ers can capture their 6th Super Bowl. That's what I think that they need to do. I will say for the record, Rob, you know, and anybody that's listened to this podcast for an amount of time, I'm a metal guy. Give me my Metallica, give me my Slayer. Obviously, Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath is my all-time favorite. But I do have a teenage daughter, so I have heard a good amount of Taylor Swift songs, and I think that they're fantastic. I think she's great. I think she's a great role model for young women coming up. Not only that, but you do have a lot of diehard football fans, NFL fans, that are sick of seeing Taylor Swift on the TV. I think it's great for the sport. Very much like a Fu Chan for Stardom, if we're going to put this all back into the Stardom realm. Got more eyes on the product, like a Logan Paul, like if The Rock does decide to come back at WrestleMania, it's going to put more eyes on a great product. So I actually have no problem with it. No problem with it. So, yeah, that's everything that's going on this weekend. That happened this weekend, and then Monday, obviously, we'll talk about it more in depth. But we got some great news from our friends over at Funk Brewing, who hit an absolute home run in scoring us a venue for WrestleMania weekend for the live Stardom Cast podcast.
Absolutely. We'll talk a little bit about that during the news portion because, in my opinion, it's the most important thing happening in the Stardom realm. Am I right in thinking that the Super Bowl is this Sunday, or is it the Sunday after?
Next Sunday. They usually take a week off. So, I guess technically the Super Bowl is this Sunday because Tam Nakano comes back, which is actually bigger than the Super Bowl. But
yeah, how are the NFL ever going to compete against the Tam Road? I feel like they accepted the defeat and have moved. I think that's a wise decision for all. And it also means you're not conflicted in watching either the Stardom show or the Super Bowl. You can now watch both in peace. Ladies and gentlemen, however, it's been a week in Stardom. We're going to be talking about the second night of the award show in Takodana Baba, Rob's favourite ever venue, from the 21st, which saw a phenomenal 13th anniversary tag match, one of my favourite tags that Stardom have ever done. And we're going to be looking at the New Year's Star show in Sendai, where, of course, we learned the full name of the brand new faction consisting of Maika, Mina Shirakawa, Waka Tsukiyama, and Hanako. And it is a name. It is a name, and it is a mouthful. But we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the Sendai PIT show as well. But Matt, before we get on to all of the news, would you like to tell the lovely listeners about what's coming up on the Patreon this week?
The Patreon, boy, it seems like I say this every week. A lot of fantastic content has been dropped this past week, or will be dropping probably by this weekend. We released last week my full review of Fukuoka Double Crazy FWC, Hazuki and Kagama, the 10 matches from their 2022 Goddess of Stardom tag run. That is up on your Patreon feeds, as well as Rob and I doing alternate commentary to a very underrated match of the MK sisters of Mayu Iwatani and Starlight Kid taking on the team of Ryo and Azumi. And again, probably by the time you listen to this, give or take a day or two, that we will have released my interview, my roundtable discussion with one Allison Danger, as we go into what our top 5 favorite tag teams, female tag teams of all time are. Allison, of course, is always a hoot. We talked about 20 minutes before we hit the record button and about a good 5 or 10 minutes after we hit the record button. Now, I do want to say that there are spoilers for the Iron Claw movie, because we just start talking. She's like, Matt, did you see Iron Claw? Can we talk about it? I'm like, sure, spoilers. So if you have not seen the Iron Claw movie, you might want to fast forward a little bit through that part that we do talk about the fantastic movie based on the Von Erich's life. Allison is phenomenal. I don't need to tell you, anybody that's listened to our past interviews or roundtable discussions with her. But she said as we got on the air, it might have been before I hit the record button, that it took her 2 or 3 days to come up with this list because she wanted to give us good content, to the point where she had to call her brother. Now, her brother is former ECW and NWA World Heavyweight Champion and a current trainer at the WWE Performance Center, the one and only, the king of old school, Steve Corino. So Steve Corino actually sent his list in to his sister Allison. So you get a little bit of Steve Corino. He gave his list of his top 3 favorite female tag teams, which I thought were great. So that, again, the audio of that should be on your Patreon feed by the time this drops, give or take a day or two. And then the video version should be up on your Patreon feeds probably in the next 7 or 8 days. And then also the what if Sai Kamatani did not get injured in the 2023 5-star Grand Prix. That as well should be up on your Patreon feeds probably, again, by the time you listen to this, or sometime this weekend. And I made mention when I recorded my half of the what if, is Rob and I, we just couldn't get our schedules to jive. So what we did is I recorded my portion of what if, Rob will record his portion of what if, and then Rob's just going to edit them together and sending it up to your Patreon feed. So that's all that is up on the Patreon. And then coming up next week, our alternate commentary. We go back to Stardom Year-End Climax 2019 as Mayu Iwatani defending the World of Stardom Championship against Kagetsu. So again, a lot of phenomenal stuff up on the Patreon.
And it's a bit of a bittersweet show because it's undoubtedly an absolutely fantastic show, but also it's the show where Hazuki retires for the first time. We didn't know that at the time. We thought it would be forever. And it's also the show before Kagetsu announces her own retirement. So it is a little bit of a bittersweet show, but that match in particular is absolutely incredible, and I'm looking forward to talking to you about that. A little bit of news then coming out of the Stardom world. Not a terrible amount, but quite a lot pertaining to Giulia. Now, there's been a widely labelled fake post going around for something that Sean Ross Sapp apparently said. He's come out and said, I never reported this, and it was originally, I believe, was found on an old message board post about how AEW didn't want Giulia because she worked too stiff, and she stiffed Willow Nightingale and didn't try and talk to her afterwards, and all of it was nonsense, basically. So I'm not going to talk about it because it's not worth giving any sort of credence to it. However, we have got some news on Giulia's departure. Now, as we all know, Giulia is leaving the world of Stardom to go to, presumably, the WWE, and that will be happening in the springtime. Now, I was under the impression, I believe Matt was under the impression as well, that Giulia would see out until at least the end of March, and maybe a few dates in April, including the Yokohama Buntai show that Stardom are running at the end of April, their big springtime show. However, the Wrestling Observer newsletter has had this to say in relation to New Japan's Windy City Riot, which I believe is not only a sellout, but takes place on the 12th of April. Giulia was advertised originally to be defending the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. I believe at the top of the card is Tetsuya Naito versus Jon Moxley for the IWGP Championship. So it's a big card, it's a sellout, but according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Giulia is now off the show. Her contract expires in March, and they originally wanted her to work here and likely lose the New Japan Strong Women's title, but she's told Bushiroad she was now finishing in March when her deal is up. Let me just get your thoughts on that, Matt, first, and then we've got a question from Darren that I wanted to ask in terms of Giulia. But this sort of... I want to tread very carefully here. I don't want to say that this sort of echoes the way she left Ice Ribbon, because I don't think it does. But it seems like Giulia is very determined that she is out of the company by March, and there doesn't seem to be any wiggle room at all in terms of dates worked, does it?
No, from what I understand is that they were trying to get her to have her farewell show at an All-Star Grand Queendom show, and she was no, didn't want to. Again, kind of what we were kind of told and kind of hinted a little bit behind the scenes is that they know her contract expired in March. At the beginning of the year, they were it was almost like a handshake deal where she didn't want to re-sign a new deal. She was going to work with Stardom a couple more months just to get some storylines through, and then go off to, whether she's going to be a free agent, whether she was going to kind of just do what Unagi did and bet on herself. But more than likely, we all thought she would be going to the WWE because they have expressed major interest in Giulia, and that's the biggest wrestling company in the world. And of course, why wouldn't they? Giulia is a absolute bona fide star. So now I understand that, she's not going to be working All-Star Grand Queendom. She was, again, you just mentioned she was originally advertised for this show in Chicago, said, no, my deal is up this date. And she's holding true to it. She's holding true to it. They could have maybe possibly given her a contract extension. Be like, hey, we will pay you X amount to work these dates. And obviously they didn't. We've been talking about the lack of communication, especially at the end of last year, just the lack of communication between Bushiroad and the wrestlers from Stardom. And I think this is probably one of them. This is really something that they had to look at. It's like, okay, we have this venue booked for Chicago. Who do we need for this show? And they should have reached out to Giulia months in advance to ask her, like, hey, we know your contract ends this date. would you work this date and this is what we'll pay you? Obviously, we don't know the insides and outs of the conversations that's happened with Giulia and the brass of the people over at Stardom, or excuse me, Giulia and the people at Bushi Road. You mentioned about, is this kind of, some people have said this similar to her leaving Ice Ribbon. No, it's not, because if this was similar to her leaving Ice Ribbon, she would have been advertised for this show and then pretty much just no show, where she's basically saying 2 months in advance, more than 2 months in advance, I'm not going to be at this show. I'm letting everybody know my contract ends in March. So you still have all of February and all of March to, get this belt off me and then write me off into the sunset the way that you see fit and the way that I see fit before I go to WWE or take time off or do whatever she wants to do, because she certainly earned that right. So again, this is, a lot of people have messaged me and you as well and asked us questions. Is this similar to leaving Ice Ribbon? No. Again, from what I understand, when she left Ice Ribbon, it was pretty much almost like leaving in the middle of the night, where she's telling everybody almost 10 weeks in advance, my contract ends in March, about 8 weeks. Yeah, it's literally as recorded, it's the end of January. Crazy. My contract ends in March. So I'm telling you, 2 months and I'm gone. So at least gives the people over at Stardom and Bushi Road a way to write Giulia out of the storylines, and whoever that she needs to put over on the way out, that it gives time. So and good on her. It's her career, it's her life, and she's absolutely earned that right to do what she wants.
Yeah, and I think that's the crucial difference. It was very much forced through in terms of the Ice Ribbon dismissal. However, this one, it is a case of my contract is up in March, and anything past March was a handshake deal, so to speak. And actually, Darren touches on all this. He asks a question. A question for Rob and Matt. Oh, hello, Darren, by the way. Giulia was scheduled to work Windy City Riot, which we've just talked about, and dropped the Strong Tile and a few other dates she agreed in a handshake deal with Bushi Road through April. But now she's refusing to work beyond the expiry of her contract sometime in March. Does this potentially hurt her if things don't work out with WWE and she tries to return to Stardom? Personally, I don't think she's doing anything wrong, as her contract is up in March and she can easily drop the belt on a Stardom show. Thought I'd ask, as she left Ice Ribbon on horrendous terms. Hopefully no hard feelings between her and Stardom. So a couple of things to sort of pick out of that, and then of course I'll throw to you, Matt. First thing, the sooner we get this New Japan Strong Women's title out of Stardom, the better, because it's just been... there's no need for it, to be perfectly honest. So yes, you can drop it on a Stardom show, but I don't want it to go to another Stardom wrestler. Just be a belt that is defended in New Japan of America shows. I'm not interested in it. The only real reason I'm interested in it in the first place is because Giulia is fantastic and she's put on some great matches for it. Otherwise, I'm really not fussed. Obviously, you run that risk of burning your bridges, so to speak. Again, Giulia isn't technically doing anything wrong. And even though she said, I'm not working beyond the end of my contract, it doesn't seem to be an acrimonious departure. The Ice Ribbon departure was an absolute debacle, and took a long time from my understanding, took a long time to sort of legally untangle as well. Here, she's not doing anything wrong. If it doesn't work out in the WWE, and she does come back, I think Stardom would be stupid not to extend the hand, because ultimately Giulia is a star, and if you are going to blacklist her from the company or anything like that, I feel like you're only cutting off your nose to spite your face. Yes, we're not accepting Giulia. That means that another company is, and they're going to make money on Giulia. Ultimately, wrestling is a business, and you look at the WWE. And Bret Hart, for example, nobody left a company potentially on worse terms than Bret Hart in the WWE. He still went back. Time heals all wounds. If there is hard feelings when Giulia does eventually depart, time will heal them. I fully expect that if Giulia, for whatever reason, doesn't work out in the WWE, and I hope she does, for her sake, I hope she does, because she's a phenomenal wrestler. Okay, but I don't think the two departures between this and the Ice Ribbon one are comparable, because I think, I don't know the ins and outs of the entire thing with Ice Ribbon, but from what I understand, she's done a lot less legally wrong here than she did when she left Ice Ribbon for Stardom. Ultimately, and I'll throw to you in a second, Matt, ultimately I'm devastated she's leaving. Great wrestler, did not get the red belt reign she deserved at all, seemed like a real drop ball, and I do wonder, had she been given a better run with the red belt, a more respectful run with the red belt, rather than just, 2 successful title defenses, one of which was a double count out, I feel like we could be having a different conversation. But we are where we are. In answer to your question, Darren, I know I've taken a long way around the houses to actually answer it. I don't think there'll be hurt feelings between her and Stardom. Stardom have sent lots of different people to WWE, and Kyrie, obviously the main two. B. Priestley's another one who has gone. Jamie Hay has gone to AEW. People leave Stardom to go to different companies. Is it ideal that Giulia is not wrestling at the big show at Buntai or at Windy City Riot? No, not ideal at all. But ultimately, this is an indictment of how Japan do contracts. If you're going to do a year's rolling contract, you are going to have this issue every single year at this time. Had they had, as Matt said, is that if they'd had the foresight to go, right, okay, your contract's coming up in, say, I don't know, August, something like that. Okay, your contract's coming up. We know that you are thinking of leaving. However, we want to offer you a contract extension to work April so that you can do these 2 dates. Then we could be having, again, a very different conversation. But, again, the key point, the key thing to clip out of this is Giulia's done nothing wrong ultimately. She's just putting her foot down and saying, no, my contract ends in March. I'm not doing anything past March. So, no, I don't think she has done anything wrong, Matt.
No, not at all. And really, there's not too much for me to add to that because you literally, took the words right outside of my head. As always, my man, we're half a world away, and I pretty much agree with everything that you said. As when Darren asked that question, pretty much everything that you said is what I was going to say, other than the fact that, maybe this could be a ploy, and maybe Giulia may be playing a little bit of hardball. Maybe try to get a couple extra bucks out of Bushi Road, which if she is, fair play to her. She's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And like, no, we need you to do it. Well, then this is the money that I need. If that's what she's doing, great. That's awesome when you have the employee having the advantage on the employer. And I always think that's great because nobody works harder in professional sports and the people that are actually doing it, whether it's pro football, pro soccer, pro wrestling, and it's the owners and the managers who aren't taking the physicality. That, don't get me wrong, they're working hard, but they aren't taking the physicality that the athletes are, and they're getting way more money. Maybe that's what she's doing. I don't think so. If it is, fair play to her. I think it's great. Let her go get those last 2 big paydays. Also, if you remember that it was kind of reported that Giulia during the 5-star Grand Prix last year was working with a bruised tailbone, and just between Utami getting hurt and Saya Kamatani getting hurt, she didn't really take any time off. So maybe the fact that her body's just a little bit beat up, and before she goes over to here in the States to WWE, she just maybe wants to just run out her contract. Here's what I have going on in March. I'll put Suzu over, Maika over. I don't know. I'm just saying. I think those are the 2 wrestlers that I think she should put over on the way out. And then I'm going to rest my body, and then I'm going to come over to the States. Maybe that's what she's doing. But no, she's not doing anything wrong. And exactly to echo your sentiments, my friend, that Giulia's a huge star. So if she decides this is the term she leaves on, in 2 years she wants to come back, it's a business. The only thing I'm going to disagree with is you said that Bret Hart probably left the WWE on the worst terms. I'm going to say CM Punk and the Ultimate Warrior might have been a little bit worse. But regardless, that's another debate for another story.
Absolutely. Both, there have been some acrimonious departures. Let's leave it at that. I don't know whether Punk and AEW might actually be worse somehow. Scotty Wrestling, again, friend of the show. He's reported that Suzu Suzuki did an interview with Tokyo Sports, and she said in that she has got her eye on Mayu Iwatani and the IWGP Women's Championship. She's also cast doubts on the brand new faction that we alluded to earlier on, and the reason she's given is that she believes it won't work with both Maika and Mina Shirakawa leading the way. So I just want to break this down. Obviously, Tokyo Sports is a kayfabe newspaper, so, take all this with a pinch of salt. However, we know that there is going to be at least one challenge to Mayu Iwatani's IWGP Women's Championship reign, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. However, Matt, Suzu Suzuki versus Mayu Iwatani for the IWGP Women's Championship. Are we finally seeing the IWGP Championship being treated as we promised it would be? Because if this is another defense, we get the match that we're going to talk about later on top of the Syuri match, on top of the Mercedes Moné match. Are we finally getting to a point where this is going to be a belt that is respected as opposed to one that was shoehorned in, which is certainly how it felt when Mayu took the belt?
Yeah, me and you were texting back and forth when this interview kind of popped up on the old social medias. I kind of said kudos to Mayu and the brass over at Stardom, that it's like this belt is really treated with so much disrespect as far as like the New Japan side goes, and it's IWGP, which is New Japan. We didn't see it on the Tokyo Dome show earlier this month. We saw it at the Tokyo Dome City Hall Stardom show across the street. And no disrespect to any of those matches that happened on Wrestle Kingdom. The best match that happened on 1-4 was Mayu versus Shiri, and I will die on that hill. But Mayu, it's another feather in her cap of being one of, if not the greatest wrestlers of this or any generation, regardless of gender, regardless of country. I mean, Mayu can retire tomorrow. Please, Mayu, we hope you don't. And she's a first ballot Hall of Famer. No question about it. But the fact she's taking this belt that's been treated so disrespectfully, really pretty much since its since it started. She had that great match with Utami in the tournament, and the Momo match in the tournament, and the great match with Kairi in the tournament. Had that great match with Mercedes. The Steph Walker match was great. The Utami match was great. Again, we mentioned the Shiri match earlier this year. The fact that we have a potential Mina match lining up, which we'll talk about later in the show, and a Suzu match. And not only that, I know 2 or 3 weeks ago, they did a show in Tam's hometown, and Mayu got the win in the main event, and then Mayu called Tam into the ring to close the show, and they did a little bit of a tease for the IWGP Women's Championship, and I really think that is going to be the match that they're going to need to sell 4,000 to 5,000 tickets when it comes to All-Star Grand Queendom, especially if the fact that we don't have Giulia on that show. So the fact that in the next handful of months that Mayu, again, match of the year, 5-star match with Shiri we saw at the beginning of this month. We're going to get the Mina match, probably a Suzu match, and I think the Tam match. And now finally we're going to put some luster on this belt. And I think that has a lot to do with Mayu just taking this belt seriously and just taking it to a level that New Japan never wanted to present it to be. So really just good on Mayu. Just really, again, it's just another feather in the cap of arguably the greatest women's wrestler of all time.
And I think it's worth noting as well, I know we've said this before, but it does bear repeating. Mayu is not responsible for this IWGP Women's Championship flopping in its early stages. Stardom is not even responsible for the booking of this belt. That all falls on New Japan. There's been all sorts of rumors that, people in the booking committee didn't want this belt to happen in the first place, and there seems to have been some sort of loggerhead, which has led to us sort of having a disparity between what the IWGP Women's Championship should be and when it's going to be defended and when it's actually being defended. What I am glad to see is that it is at least now being defended, whereas before it was stuck in some sort of horrible purgatory where Mayu was the champion but wasn't defending it because it wasn't being booked on any shows. So hopefully, with the Suzu Suzuki match on the horizon, with the Mina Shirakawa match on the horizon, which we'll talk about shortly, with a possible Tam match, those are 3 blockbuster matches. And if we get that, then maybe, just maybe, my opinion of the IWGP Women's Championship will change. I'm still down on it. I still don't particularly like the belt just because of everything that's surrounding it. Mayu has done wonders with what she can with that belt because she's Mayu Iwatani and she's damn good. But we will see. I am cautiously optimistic, shall we say. And the second part of this, Matt, the second part of this article about Suzu casting doubt on this new partnership between Maika and Mina Shirakawa. Every faction in Stardom has a leader, a clear leader. Now, we don't have one where two people are sort of jointly leading the faction, whereas it seems, at the moment anyway, that both Maika and Mina Shirakawa are co-opting this faction. Do you think that will work? Do you think there's going to be a power struggle, a power dynamic shift? What is your opinion of how they are running this faction? And don't worry, we'll get to the name. We'll get to the name.
I kind of enjoy it. Obviously, Mike is the red belt champion, but we've been high on Mina for a long, long time. And Mina Shirakawa is, she's more like the entertainer of the group. Again, she's phenomenal in the ring. Mike is very entertaining in her own right. They're both on a scale of 1 to 10, they're both 10s. They're both just part of this stacked Stardom roster. So I get it that there's no leader, but you may mention, partner, last week that what's one of the great things about Stardom throughout the years is just because you're not the leader of a faction doesn't mean you can't go for the main belt or a main belt. You know, you mentioned Utami won the red belt when Momo was the leader of Queen's Quest, and Sherry won the red belt when Giulia was the leader of DDM. So I guess you can kind of crown Maika as the leader, or you can just say, hey, they're co-leaders. And we haven't made mention, Tora was the leader of Oedo Tai when Kagetsu retired. Tora was injured for 14, 15 months, and Stardom had that really big boom period at the end of 2021 and 2022 where a lot of new watchers of Stardom thought that the leader of Oedo Tai was Momo and or Starlight Kid. And since Tora, this past year, she's been an absolute tear, but you never make mention that Tora is the leader. Like, they never really don't make mention of it. And it's kind of has to be a reminder. Sometimes some people ask me. So, I mean, it's something they can touch upon. It's something maybe they can kind of have funny banter with, kind of like they did with Maika and Suzu before they got into their depths of going into the 5-star. We're just kind of like funny stuff. They're kind of like pushing each other and doing this, that, or the other thing. They can kind of do that just because Maika and Mina are so entertaining. I mean, I think if they say we're not going to have a leader, if you see Maika coming out with a belt and the belt that is the World of Stardom Championship, people are just going to assume she's the leader, and it'll just make things less confusing. So I think they can go either way with it. But I don't think they're going to say, well, Hanako's the leader. No disrespect to Hanako, but it's going to be, a captain and co-captain of Mina and Maika. So whatever way they go with it, I'm fine with it. I think this faction it's just started, and obviously I think very much like Donald Del Mundo, DDM, we're very much going to be calling this faction EXV just to be a little bit easier on us, my friend. But I'm all for this faction, my friend. I really enjoyed what they're doing, and hopefully we see Xena back in, because I know she didn't have any matches last week, and I don't think she's got anything coming up this week. So hopefully we see her tagging up in this faction sooner than later.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you. Let's move on, Matt, to perhaps the biggest news ever in Stardom Cast history. Would you like, my friend, to give the good people a little taste of what we're going to be doing?
As far as the Stardom Cast goes, they're good, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so we have made mention, folks, that about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was basically almost because of demand, because a lot of people were saying, hey, we know that Rob is coming in for WrestleMania weekend. We had the Stardom show, which was announced. Again, perfect storm, folks. And to be honest with you, myself and Rob have been talking about this since late summer, early fall. I'm like, hey, I'm going to WrestleMania. Why don't you fly over? And just happened that there's a Stardom show. Again, we just happen to get lucky with that. Just happened to be that more than likely Io Shirai, one of the greatest Stardom wrestlers of all time, is defending the WWE Women's Championship on this show in Philadelphia, my favorite wrestling city. So a lot of people were just like asking us and tweeting at us and tagging us saying, hey, you guys should do a live Stardom Cast podcast after the show. And a lot of it, Rob, I noticed in the comments when we did our live stream of of Dream Queendom, people were saying you guys should really do this like live at a bar during WrestleMania weekend. So again, we made mention this before. I reached out to my buddy Norm, who is the owner, a very good friend of mine, the owner of Funk Brewing, who has done the Stardom Cast beer for us, the limited release. And he said, hey man, let me work on it. And Monday he sent me a text message and said, I found a venue for us. So he sent me the pictures, and it looks amazing. I put it up on all of our social medias, all my social medias. So if anybody hasn't seen the pictures yet and want to see the pictures, send me a message. I'll send it to email. I'll put it on your social medias, whatever. But it's called Jack's Bar and Grill, and it is located at 0.9 miles away from the 2300/ECW Arena. So less than a mile away is this venue. And again, this looks absolutely gorgeous. I kind of had it Rob, in my head of what I wanted, right? And again, I'm somebody that you give me an inch, I'll take a mile. Like, I can make things work. But like when Norm sent me these pictures, I'm like, Norm, this is unbelievable. The fact that you're able to pull this off. And then he did tell me that somebody's going to get in contact with us about how to set up sound. Now, I had a meeting with our editor-in-chief, Sean, last week. By meeting, we talked for 20 minutes and then went and had wings and beer. But regardless, I had a meeting with Sean last week, and he said, I can take care of all the audio for you. I can more than likely set up the mics, set up what we need to set up, so this way we can record whatever you guys are saying and then release it as release it then to everybody that can't be there in Philly, release it as a normal podcast sometime in the near future. So they did say that their sound setup, the way that venue is wired, is that the sound is set up for inside and outside. So I'm assuming more than likely that we're going to be doing the show inside. But I think they have a fire pit and something else outside. So if it gets too crowded in the bar or somebody wants to go outside, you'll be able to hear myself and Rob and Sean, because Sean is going to be there. He is going to be hosting this event, as well as the people over at Funk Brewing, that you'll be able to hear all of our fantastic voices, whether you're inside, outside, if you're in the toilet, if you're anywhere within that venue, you'll be hearing myself and Rob talk about Stardom. We still have to hammer down the details a little bit. Again, we have the venue, Jack's Bar and Grill. Again, it's less than a mile away from the 2300 Arena. Obviously, I'll get with Rob. I'll get with Norm, and we'll get with the people over at the venue for the time. The Stardom show runs from 3 until, I'm guessing, 6. We're thinking we may start the show around 7:30. That gives everybody a little bit of time to get their stuff together, maybe get something to eat. I will say that I think that everybody should eat at this venue because the food looks absolutely amazing. But, give yourself some time to eat, so this way you're not rushed. I know Tony Luke's famous cheesesteak place is just right down the road from the 2300 Arena. So if you want to grab your Philly cheesesteak and then come to the venue, that's what we're going to do. It's probably about an hour and a half, give or take, after the Stardom show, as one will probably go live. We don't know how long we have. Hopefully they basically say, hey, you guys go as long as you want, because we'll have a lot to talk about. So I'm thoroughly excited. And thanks to my good friends over at Funk Brewing for pulling this off. Again, they hit an absolute home run. And I know I got to get in touch with Norm, but I know probably sometime in March, we're going to have Norm on the show to just talk about, his fandom of wrestling, talk about how we got into the beer business, and then to really just kind of hype up the show for us. So yes, this will be Funk Brewing they've literally done all the legwork for us. All we have to do is just go over there and be damn entertaining, Rob, because I feel that me and you are.
Yeah, it's a little bit daunting, the fact that I've got to be entertaining, but I'll do my best. It's exciting that this is going to happen. We'd love to see as many of you as possible there. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to chat all things about World Wonder Ring Stardom. And more importantly, perhaps, we'd love to drink some lovely Stardom Cast beer with you as well.
Yes, that's right. That's right, Rob. That's why we pay you the big bucks. Also, we are going to be debuting. That'll be also the launch party of the new Stardom Cast beer. And again, myself, Rob, and Norm will have to get together and figure out what we want for our beer, like the ingredients or what they have kind of, in the vat, what they're going to be brewing. And then the label, the logo will be the new Stardom Cast logo with myself as Utami and Rob as Mayu. So that'll be the label that'll be on the beer. So it's going to be nice, Rob, that you're flying over. You're going to have a heck of a Thursday. You're flying over and you're going to be drinking. You're going to go to your first Stardom show, my first Stardom show as well. I believe this is your first time in the ECW arena, correct?
It is indeed. And trust me, my friend, I am going to be eating cheesesteak at that place. That's my one thing. Stardom, that WrestleMania, they're my three.
There it is. And then later on that night, Rob, you'll be drinking a beer that has your face on it. Cartoon face, but your face regardless, my friend.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping that you've still got a tin of the old Stardom Cast beer waiting for me as well.
I have 6 of them, my friend. I counted the other day. I have 6 of them because I want, for anybody that subscribes to our Patreon, my wonderful wife redid my podcast room, and I want to get 1 beer full. And I just kind of want to just put that maybe in a glass case so we have it. But I think I have 6 left, and I don't think I'm going to have any more until you come in, just to make sure that you have at least 1 available for you.
Good man. Good man. So, ladies and gentlemen, just to recap, we are going to be going live. We are going to be doing this after the Stardom show. We don't quite know, like Matt said, what time it will be, but we will be doing that. So we'd love to see as many of you. And we'll be hanging out, obviously, in Jack's Bar and Grill after the show for quite a long time. If they serve wings, we will be there. 100% we will be there. So come and say hi. Come and chat to us. Doesn't even have to be about Stardom. But if you can make it, we'd love to see you there. If you've got a question, we'd love you to ask it. So, yeah, we'll talk to you a little bit then. Let's start talking about some of these Stardom shows. Then we've got 2 to talk about in total. The first one we're going to talk about is the second night from Takadano Baba from the 21st of January. We did talk about the awards last week, so I won't go over them again, but this was in front of 391 people, so a slight increase from the night before, which saw 369. This is 391. The results for this show are as follows, and then we'll sort of go into detail about more matches, but mainly the main event, because the main event might be one of my favorite Stardom tag matches of all time. We open with a 3-way tag match. The Queen's Quest team of Miyu Wamasaki and Lady C defeated Rani Yagami and Rina and Sayaka Kurora and Yuna Mizumori, with Miyu Wamasaki pinning Sayaka Kurora with the Tensai in 8 minutes and 37 seconds. Singles match then, Mei Sakurai defeating Fukigen Death with the Escargot in 6 minutes and 6 seconds. Every time I see that move, I love it more. The tag team then of Mina Shirakawa and Waka Tsukiyama defeated the Stars team of Saya Ida and Yuzuki, with Mina Shirakawa for some reason pinning Saya Ida. You had Yuzuki right there, Stardom, with the glamorous driver Mina in 9 minutes and 38 seconds. A 6-woman tag match followed. The God's Eye team of Shiori Mirai and Ame Sori defeated the Uedatai team of Natsukatora, Momo Watanabe and Ruaka, with Shiori submitting Ruaka with the Suzaku in 11 minutes and 23 seconds. In your semi-main event, Megan Bain's departure match, Giulia, Suzu Suzuki, and Mei Seira defeated the team of Hanako, Maika, and Megan Bain, with Giulia pinning Hanako with the backdrop suplex in 14 minutes and 7 seconds. And then in your main event, a special 13th anniversary 8-woman tag match featuring Stardom homegrown talent. You've got the team of Utami Hayashishita, Sayaka Matani, Hanan and Mayu Iwatani defeating the team of Hazuki Azumi, Saki Kashima and Starlight Kid, Mayu pinning Hazuki with the moonsault in 19 minutes and 44 seconds. Matt will talk, I imagine, a lot about this main event in a moment, but what else on this card are you recommending to people?
Rob, real quick, I don't have it in my notes. What was the time on the first match?
It's 8 minutes and 37 seconds.
I pride myself on doing that. For some reason, I missed that. I must have been distracted by a shiny spoon. This whole show was pretty. This whole show was pretty solid. Again, Mei Sakurai, phenomenal. I love the escargot. Again, let's go to that. Keep Rob in a good place. Thoroughly enjoy it. Again, the whole show was really good. I know we're going to spend a lot of time talking about this main event, and there's a lot of things I want to talk about this main event. But let's talk about this co-main event with Megan Bain's final Stardom match before she goes. I'm assuming back to going to AEW. I don't know when she's going to pop up on screen, but basically it was everybody that she's been involved with really heavily over the last few months that was in this match. Obviously, she's been teaming with Maika as part of Divine Kingdom. We saw a lot of Hanako that she's been in the ring with Megan Bain over these last few shows, which is good. It's a good rub for her to be in the ring, with Maika, the World of Stardom champion, and then be across the ring with Suzu Suzuki, the winner of the 5-star Grand Prix, Giulia, who's pretty much done everything in Stardom, and Mei Seira, who is the current high-speed champion. But I thought she did a very good job holding her own there. We say that, I think I almost say this almost every week on the show. Giulia did a great job giving Hanako a lot in this match. She does a great job of building up her opponents, whether they've been wrestling a year or 5 years, building up her opponents in the match, and then she ultimately beats them. Which, again, I know I sound like a broken record. If she just went out there and squashed Hanako, didn't do anything, and then hits her with the backdrop driver, who did she really beat? But she made Hanako look like a threat in this match, and so did Suzu and May as well. But Giulia just does such a great job of it. I don't think there's anybody in wrestling that does it as well as Giulia. I mean, just brilliant psychology. Suzu and May, again, we were supposed to get that match with Aphrodite a couple weeks ago. Hopefully we do get it somewhere down the line, because I think the Crazy Star team is so great as a tag team. And they did a great job highlighting Megan Bayne. This wasn't like, okay, I'm on my way out, I'm just going to just play the hits, have everybody do everything else. She didn't. She literally left it all in the ring, and good on her. I thought this was a great match, a great co-main event. This actually hit the 4-star match mark for me, my friend.
Wow, you really did like it. What about this main event then? Because I do want to talk about it, because it was fantastic. Not only did we get a showcase of all of these Stardom homegrown talents, but we went from the teams having no chemistry whatsoever to then coming up with incredible tag team moves and incredible synergy within the teams. I loved absolutely everything about this match. It had the comedy that you expect somewhat from the likes of Saki Kashima, but everyone was involved. You got Azumi and Starlight Kid attempting a double drop kick on Saya Kamatani, but because Hazuki is trying to help and is dragging her onto the ropes, it means that those two miss the drop kicks, and those little miscommunications are eventually worked out as part of the storyline throughout this match to two teams that are going hell for leather at each other. Mayu Iwatani and Hazuki is the singles match I want to see. Absolutely phenomenal. I loved the fact that when we had the entrances, Matt, all of Hazuki's team gave Starlight Kid a massively wide berth. It really, really made me laugh, because you could see, like, Azumi was a little bit like, oh, we're friends, we'll do like the heart or the star or whatever. And then they all walked off and left Starlight Kid on her own. And I was like, yes, a little bit of storyline. Love it. But overall, this had everything you could possibly want. It had hard-hitting moves like Utami and Mayu. Absolutely tremendous. I thought Mayu was probably the MVP of this match. Starlight Kid was tremendous. Hazuki, brutal as always. Overall, Matt, I can't say enough good things about this match. It's the cream of the crop in Stardom, and they're the cream of the crop for a reason.
Yeah, Rob, I don't have this noted. I just remembered it, so I want to make reference to this before I forget, because there's a lot to talk about in this match. You remember in this match, and I did watch it twice. I think I messaged you that I watched it twice, and we may do this as an alternate commentary sooner than later, because it was this good. I absolutely love this. Do you remember as they're getting towards the end of the match, all of Team Mayu, they all do a dive except for one person?
I know exactly what you're going to be talking about.
Okay. One Saya Ida comes in the ring, and for no reason, Utami just picks her up, and then dumps, because Utami's like, I don't do a dive, but I'll basically do the Megan Bayne May Sarah spot. So now here's what I'm going to say. I know you were upset a few minutes ago when you talked about Saya Ida eating the fall here. Technically, Saya Ida was in this match, and she was because she was used for that spot. Saya Ida technically picks up a win here, right? I mean, this counts, doesn't it?
I mean, it has to. I mean, obviously on the Stardom Cast statistics, it is listed as a Saya Ida victory. And I think, Matt, I'd go further than that. I'd say without that pivotal Saya Ida interference in that match or participation in that match, I don't think Team Mayu would have won.
Now, Rob, because of this big monumental win here, and with CM Punk being injured and Seth Rollins not having an opponent for WrestleMania, I think it makes perfect sense with me and you being there that Saya Ida and Seth Rollins needs to. I don't think it'll main event. And again, we'll talk about the Io Kyrie watch, because I think now this opens up the door. But I think Saya Ida should wrestle Seth Rollins night one of WrestleMania. Let's get going here. That's, if anybody gets anything out of this podcast, 3 things people should get out of this podcast this week is you're entertained, that you will agree with me, Saya Ida should challenge Seth Rollins for the heavyweight championship, and the 49ers need to hire Ozzy Osbourne in 2 weeks. That's the 3 things I think people need to go home with on this show. Rob, now I knew this match. Majority of these Stardom shows, when it gets released, it's like first thing in the morning here in the States. It's like 5, 6, 6:30 is when it usually goes up on Stardom World, or that the fine folks that run the We Are Stardom English account put it up on the Twitter for everybody to see. This thing was only up about an hour or two. And I was getting tagged in and messaged that, hey, you got to see this match. You got to see this match. I'm like, okay, I knew it was going to be good, and I kind of forgot who was in it until they were doing the entrances. And we'll get the one small negative thing that's get out of the way before this match gets going. I'm like, now I understand what they did. If you're going on power ranking, we have team number 1, Utami Hayashishita, former World of Stardom champion. Mayu Iwatani, former everything in Stardom. Saya Kamatani, the greatest wonder of Stardom champion. Hana, someone in 3 or 4 years that's probably going to echo everything I just said, Mayu, Saya, and Utami. Then on the other side, you have Starlight Kid, Azumi, Hazuki, Saki Kashima, all high-speed champions, and then everybody with the exception of Azumi, which is crazy to think about, former Goddess of Stardom champion. So I'm like, wait a minute. This Mayu team is insanely loaded. You have everyone with the exception of Hana has held the red belt or the white belt, but nothing on the Starlight Kid side. I'm like, don't you think they could have mixed these up a little better? And then you're like 5, 6 minutes in this match, and like, I understand why. Because the way that now they could have mixed this up any other way, and it would have been great. Would have been as this good? I don't know. I don't think so, because this match is a match of the year contender, in my opinion. It just worked with these teams. I'm like, oh, I get it why they did that. So I just thought that's kind of funny. I loved how they started this match off with Hazuki and Saya Kamatani. We talked at nausea, and we will talk at nausea about how great that match was March of last year with Saya and Hazuki. Not only that, but their matches leading up to it, the 5-star in 2022, the multi-person matches. And I was like, oh, here we go. You really could have started any combinations, but that one just made me sit up a little more. But yeah, I mean, it was great to double team Saya and Utami. Just, again, Aphrodite, in my opinion, the best tag team in all the world. Starlight Kid and Azumi, they worked so well together. Hazuki's violence, Saki Kashima coming in to be sneaky whenever it needed to be. Hanan looked great here. All 8 wrestlers were great. But I will echo your sentiments, partner, that Mayu was the MVP of this match, even though you can probably make an argument for just about anybody being the MVP. But I made mention, it might have been last week or the week before, that my favorite Stardom quote-unquote house show that I've seen on Stardom World was Aphrodite versus May and Azumi. This one slightly beats it, which just goes to show you how on fire this company has been, especially since Dream Queendom at the end of last year. I have this at 4 3/4 stars, partner. And before I get into something I'd like to discuss with you, I was just wondering what your star rating is and if there's anything that you like to add on.
I give it 4.5. It's an absolutely fantastic match, easily the match of the weekend, and I encourage you to go and check it out because we need to be talking about this match at the end of the year. I really, really hope we still remember just how good this match is when we're talking Stardom Cast Awards 2024, because it deserves the recognition, and I just hope it hasn't started too early. There isn't really much I want to add. I loved the fact that these women do not wrestle on the same team very often, and yet the chemistry between them, and it really does showcase the talent in that ring that everybody was able to hit these fantastic tag team maneuvers. There was this brilliant wheelbarrow move that Hazuki's team did on Mayu, which was absolutely fantastic. Looked amazing. You've got Saya Kamatani helping to kick Hazuki into the Dodon Pa. All of it just worked so well, and they were able to temper the comedy and sort of weave it into the match. Rather than forcing it, they managed to weave it into the match to make it part of the story, and it worked really, really well. And even like Saki Kashima trying to crawl away from Utami when Utami's beating the hell out of her, it's really funny. It wasn't hammed up. It wasn't ridiculously over the top. It just worked really well. And it worked in the context of Saki's character, because ultimately, and this is going to sound horrible, Saki Kashima might be seen by some, myself included, as a little bit of an outlier in that group. You know, you've got all this talent on show, and Saki's in there as well, who might not have the accolades that the others do or will have in the future. However, I thought she played her part, as she has done, you know, since the Hereditary days and before. she played her part perfectly. And I thought the way that she especially managed to mix that comedy with the actual hard-hitting wrestling, I thought worked really, really, really well. Now, what did you want to discuss with me, brother?
Rob, do you mind if we talk about one Mayu Iwatani a little bit there, good sir?
My favorite wrestler? No. How dare you?
Okay. Well, I figured you'd like to discuss. Now, as we record this, we're at the end of January. In my opinion, Mayu has not one, not two, not three, but 4 match of the year candidates in the very first month of this year. Singles match with Sherry. Tag match with her and Giulia versus Saori Anou and Maika from the Corkin show. The Artist of Stardom Championship match where her, Hazuki, and Hanan challenged God's Eye. And this match here. So you have 4 matches that your match, and again, in my opinion, match of the year contender. One's a singles, one's a tag, one's a 6-person, one's an 8-person. All different kinds of matches, all different kinds of psychology, all different kinds of partners. It'd be one thing if the tag match, the artist match, and the 8-person match was like her and Stars, right? Because it's like, oh, her and Hazuki and Hanan, they're all familiar with each other. All different partners. Now, Rob, my friend, I know that Hanan, Mayu is your favorite women's wrestler of all time. You think Mayu is correct me if I'm wrong. I know we've had this conversation before. Do you think Mayu is the greatest women's wrestler of all time? I know we've had this conversation, but I forget where you stand on this.
From a completely biased point of view, because I can completely appreciate, the very right case that someone like a Bull Nakano or an Aja Kong or a Manami Toyota or, someone like the Crush Gals, for example, are the best wrestlers ever. But because I've grown up or I'm living sort of at the same time as seeing Mayu Iwatani's career unfold, I am slightly biased in thinking that, yes, she is. There's no one that does it in wrestling at the moment like Mayu Iwatani, who can so effortlessly flip between underdog babyface to aggressive dickhead heel, and it's great. There's so few. So yes, in answer to your question, Matt, yes, I do think that she is the best.
Now, I've got on this podcast, it was a little over a year ago, where I said Io Shirai, in my opinion, she's my favorite women's wrestler of all time, and I think she's the greatest of all time. And I know I had you and some other folks say, Matt, maybe do a little, you're not, it's subjective. You can like what you like. Do a little bit more research into the, late 80s, 90s Joshi scene. And I did. And I absolutely love what I saw with Toyota, with Kong, with Hokuto, with Bull Nakano, so on and so forth. Absolutely loved it. But I stand firm that I like Io just a little bit better because of her psychology, her pacing, her stuff. Just I was able to believe in it a little bit more. Like just, not that there's anything wrong with those ladies that I talked about before. I think they're all great. I just thought Io was just a little bit better. As months would go by, I would say not only do I think is Io slightly better, but I would put Mayu at number 2. We've had this conversation. We've done, podcasts about it, that I had Io number 1, Mayu at number 2. Over the past 7 or 8 months, I have Mayu at 1A. I'll say this, Io is having a phenomenal year in WWE. Again, we'll talk about in the Io and Kairi watch. More than likely, it's going to have a huge championship match at WrestleMania. She's had great matches over this past year with Bianca Belair. She's had great matches with Mia Yim, with Asuka, Charlotte Flair, so on and so forth. However, if you look at Io's body of work since she left Stardom in 2018, what Mayu's been able to do since she left until right now, I think Mayu's body of work, again, Io's wrestling the bigger companies. I get it. Mayu's body of work is better. And what I'm trying to say, Rob, there's a very good chance if Mayu stays at this pace, I might have to knock Io off the number 1 spot. I think I'm going to join you and Scotty Wrestling maybe in the next 5 or 6 months and agreeing with you that Mayu is the greatest women's wrestler of all time.
Join us. Yeah. I mean, again, I am slightly.
And again, if you were to say Hokuto, there's no way I'm arguing with you.
Like,
sure, there's no wrong answer.
Absolutely. A phenomenal wrestler. Arisa Nakajima, phenomenal wrestler. But for me personally, and we say this all the time. That's the great thing about wrestling. It is subjective. For me personally, it's got to be Mayu. But yes, very long conversation in order to tell you all to go and watch it. It is on Stardom World now, the 13th anniversary tag. Absolutely worth going out of your way to go and check out. Let's have a look then at the show from Sendai then, which has just gone up on Stardom World, the show from the 27th of January. Now, it is worth noting that on the show we've just talked about on the 21st, Mina Shirakawa and Waka Tsukiyama announced that they were going to wait to announce the name of their group until they were teaming with Maika. And that happened on the 27th, as I've just said. New Year Stars 2024 in Sendai from Sendai PIT in Miyagi in front of 331 people. The results are as follows. Singles match. Mei Seira defeated Miyu Amasaki with the shooting star in 6 minutes and 7 seconds. Mei Sakurai defeated Sayaka Kurora with the escargot in 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Tag team action, Black Desire, Momo Watanabe and Starlight Kid defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Saori Anou and Yuna Mizumori. Starlight Kid pinning Yuna with the Star Suplex hold in 10 minutes and 27 seconds. Tag team match, Giulia and Suzu Suzuki defeated the BMI 2000 team of Natsu Katora and Ruaka. Giulia submitting Ruaka with the Bianca in 8 minutes and 15 seconds, a move I absolutely love. This match really interested me because Stars and God's Eye have phenomenal chemistry, but if you look at who is in this match and then listen to who got the pinfall, it says a lot. So, 10-woman tag in your semi-main. The Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki Hanan, Saya Ida, and Yuzuki defeated the God's Eye team of Shiori Mirai, Amisori, Saki Kashima, and Rani Yagami in 12 minutes and 32 seconds, with Yuzuki getting the pinfall over Rani Yagami with that rolling arrow. She has picked up a tremendous amount of victories already this year. So Stardom very, very high on Yuzuki. And then in your main event, the team of Maika, Mina, Shirakawa, Hanako, and Waka Tsukiyama defeated the Queen's Quest team of Utami Hayashishita, Azumi Sayakamatani, and Lady C, with Maika pinning Lady C with the Anchor Toshi in 14 minutes and 54 seconds. It's worth pointing out, Matt, that match that I've just talked about, that 10-woman tag, was Yuzuki's 10th match of the year and is her 6th victory, which, when you consider she is a rookie, I think is quite an impressive feat. It's one of the best win percentages of anyone in the company so far, which again is very, very, very impressive.
Yeah, that's a good stat, my man. And it's a great job heating her up for obviously what we'll talk about at the end of the show, as she has a championship match coming up this weekend against somebody else that's been on fire as a little bit as well as Rena. So that really makes the future of Stardom match, as stacked as the show is, and again, we'll get into it at the end of the show, as stacked as this show is, it really puts an importance on this match and the belt. And, it's kind of interesting to see which way they're going to go. They're going to go with a hot hand, or they're going to go with somebody that they know is going to continue to build that belt up. We shall see, my friend. But Stardom's booking, again, since the end of December until right now as we're talking, has been nothing short of pretty well perfect, my friend. And they're doing a great job building up all of these rookies. So, it should be interesting to see where they go.
Absolutely. I'm thinking back, and you have rookies who will, have a rite of passage, so to speak. You look at Lady C. She lost and lost and lost and lost. I believe at one point she lost something like 40 matches in a row. She'd had her 7-match series and then began to pick up victories and things like that. Waka Tsukiyama famously, who went 100 and something matches without a victory. Mei Sakurai to a lesser extent. Even the rookies that we've got at the moment, Rani Yagami, Sayaka Kurora, who's currently 0-9 in all matches this year. Yet Yuzuki is not only getting wins in singles matches, but she's getting wins in tag team situations, in matches that include Syuri, Mirai, Amisori, Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, and Hanan. So to have Yuzuki, the rookie, who only debuted in, what was it, November, I think, maybe? To have her pick up the victory, it really does show you how high they are on her and what their future plans are for this 18-year-old, because they clearly see her as having a tremendous amount of upside. And quite honestly, I'm not surprised. She is very, very good. And I think this is sort of the best that they have really given to a rookie since maybe Utami. Because Utami was built as this sort of super rookie, and I don't think Yuzuki is there by any stretch, but it certainly has sort of echoes of that sort of booking where she is getting good wins. And yes, she is only pinning other rookies, but she did also pick up a victory over Hanako, who has been in the ring longer than her. So clearly there is sort of a hierarchy of the rookies, and I would argue that Yuzuki is almost certainly on top of that, especially after winning the Rookie of Stardom tournament early this year. What I'm really intrigued to see now is how Yuzuki fares against someone like, when she comes back, a Momo Kogo or a Miyu Amasaki or something like that, or a Lady C, for example, and who they'd give the victory to. Because in terms of tenure, it has to go to Miyu Amasaki, Lady C, and Yuna Mizumori, and, you know, that sort of talent. However, the push that Yuzuki's getting, it would not surprise me, especially with this rolling arrow that she's breaking out. It would not surprise me if she was to get the win over someone like that. Would it you?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And again, on these quote-unquote house shows, they've been doing a lot more singles matches. I mean, you look at, I do want to touch upon match 1 and match 2 of this card for just, a few reasons. But do it here. Do a Yuzuki versus Yuna match, a Yuzuki versus Momo Kogo, a Yuzuki versus Utami. Why not? To see how she's going to fare in there. The one thing, partner, again, you, as always, you pointed everything out very, very well. You didn't make mention of the fact that Yuzuki now has her child-made painted jacket.
She does.
She's obviously an official member of Stars. Yuzuki, you could have had the phenomenal robe that you see Lady C, Azumi, all of them have. But you made your bed, now you got to lie in it. Or you made your jacket, now you got to wear it. See what I did there?
You've been thinking all day about that, haven't you?
No, because I really don't think, and the fact that I really just came out that on top of my head. If I put too much thought into something, it usually doesn't work out. It's kind of got to come off the cuff. Sometimes dumb luck, but no, she's fantastic. And yeah, when this match graphic was put up, you kind of figured that that it would have been somebody else from the Stars that would have got the win. But it's like, okay, why not? Why not push somebody else in this match? There's no reason not to. And I think that as the EXV unit gets rolling and they're in these multi-person matches, it's easy to put Maika and Mina over. Is it something that they really need? No. Put Xena over. Put poor Waka over, for goodness sakes. Put Hanako over in this match. Have Mina, as Mina's been doing really since she started Club Venus. She does a great job setting her opponents up for big moves. Have that happen in those matches. Anyway, long way of going about it. I love what they're doing with Yuzuki. All these other rookies are really, really good as well. I mean, Rana Yugami's fantastic. Rob, I want to touch upon match 1 and 2, and then I'll throw it to you if that's okay.
Of course, please do.
So we had Mei Sarah and Miyu Amasaki. Mei, you mentioned last week she may be almost too fast, almost faster for Azumi. She kind of slowed her speed down a little, but at the same time, Miyu brought her speed up. I thought that match 1 and 2, I thought were great. Are they going to make, the year-end awards? More than likely, no. But the fact that Miyu is able to almost go speed for speed, move for move with the high-speed champion makes you kind of wonder, with this high-speed division really kind of having lack of challengers, if this is a match that they kind of revisit in 2 or 3 months with the high-speed championship on the line, I think one will be a great match, because I think this match was good here, and it gives Miyu Amasaki, puts her up higher in the card. So I thought that was really well. Then we have Mai Sakurai versus Sayaka Kurora. I thought this was the best we've seen Sayaka Kurora look, and it seems like I say that every week, and I'll probably be going to say that every week here on out because she gets better with each and every outing. And the fact that Sakurai is entrusted, now this match only went 5 minutes and 30 seconds, but the fact that they entrusted her to lead this match and it came out as well as it did, and she made Sayaka look as well as she did and got her in the right spots at the right time. One, it just shows you that Sayaka Kurora, very much like every rookie in Stardom, is way ahead of where they really should be in pro wrestling. And the fact that they have Sakurai, who is now can lead a match instead of being in a match or having Giulia kind of position where everything needs to go, or if she's on the opposite side of a Hanan or Hazuki or Tommy, so on and so forth. That's like, okay, we need Mai Sakurai to lead a match in 5-6 minutes. Clearly they can do it. So again, it just goes to show the depth of this roster. So what do you think about those assumptions in match 1 and 2?
Completely agree with you. I think, I do like the fact that they are adding more singles matches to these cards, especially ones lower down on the card. It gives them more stakes, doesn't it? It helps people to build momentum, which I think is really important. Like Mai Sakurai, for example, is now 3-0 in singles matches, so you can see straight away that she has got this momentum building towards whatever they're going to do with her next. I really do like the partnership of Meisei and Miyu Amasaki, who is really benefiting from an extended injury-free, touch wood, extended injury-free run. And I think she's someone to keep an eye on, certainly over the next 6 to 8 months, because it would not surprise me if she's challenging for the Artist of Stardom belts, if we're seeing a tag team challenge with her and Azumi. Wouldn't surprise me at all, because she is another one who is improving hugely. Sayaka Kurora, I said this before when the crop of rookies debuted, her, Ronnie Yagami, Yuzuki to a lesser extent. I was less enamored with Kurora. I felt like she was the one with the least defined character. However, she continues to improve leaps and bounds. That spear she hit on Mai Sakurai was absolutely brutal. It went through her. It was great. And if we can continue to see these little developments, these little improvements in Sayaka, then I am more than happy to be proved wrong. I'm more than happy to jump onto that Sayaka train, because she's proved over the last couple of weeks that she is really, really improving. Again, I do think that she is a perfect fit for Cosmic Angels, and I do wonder, with Tam returning on Sunday for the pay-per-view, I'm wondering if more movement will happen in terms of Cosmic Angels, especially with Natsupoi still being out injured and us not having a concrete return date for the Fairy. What about the rest of the card, Matt? What did you like on the rest of the card?
My favorite match was match number 3 with the Black Desire, former Goddess of Stardom tag team champions, and Momo Watanabe and Starlight Kid taking on the Cosmic Angels duo of Saori Anou and Yuna Mizumori. I have gone on this podcast several times and on social media, letting everybody know how much I love this team of Saori and Yuna. Even though I think they may be like 1-10, the record is not that good. But this match was excellent. Obviously, Momo is one of my favorites ever in Stardom. I love how she's really found her spot as a great working heel. This match was set up really to build up Saori and Starlight Kid, which they've been doing a pretty good job over the past couple weeks, but this is pretty much going to be their last view, for them to really sell tickets and sell pay-per-views on this match. And I thought Starlight Kid and Saori had an absolute home run, and Momo and Yuna did their job perfectly fine as well. I like how they built up that Starlight Kid was trying to go for the Tiger Suplex, the Star Suplex on Yuna Mizumori, and Yuna she kept blocking it, and it took a Momo Watanabe, head kick and some Black Desire double teaming in order for Starlight Kid to finally hit the Star Suplex to put Yuna away. Again, though, the crux of this match, the main part of this match, was Saori versus Starlight Kid. And this is a little bit of a preview of what we're getting on Sunday. This is going to be another phenomenal match in the great history that is the Wonder of Stardom Championship. And I liked how at the end, after Starlight Kid got the win, she sat on the turnbuckle and did Sayori's pose and mocked her. And then Sayori got into her face and held the white belt up. I don't think Sayori knew this was coming. I knew that, like, they probably said, this is the picture we want. Like, that's the photo we want, is we want Starlight Kid on the top rope above Sayori doing her pose, and then Sayori putting the belt up to Starlight Kid. And then Starlight Kid properly snatches the white belt away from the champ. And I don't think Sayori knew that was coming. I thought that was a kind of little bit comedy bit. And you can see Sayori, at least character-wise, she was a little bit of annoyed. And you can see Starlight Kid was like doing the evil James Bond villain laugh at her. I thought it was great. I had it at 4 stars. It was my favorite match of the show. And I'm also a huge fan of this team with Giulia and Suzuki. I thought them against the BMI 2000 team of Tor and Ruaka was very well. And again, we don't know what Giulia is going to be doing these last 2 months. Again, teaming with Suzuki is a nice kind of way to kind of roundabout everything. But we'll see if they have one final singles match. But those were probably my 2 favorite matches of the show, Rob. Before we get into the main event and the tongue-twisting mention of the new faction name, is there anything you want to touch upon that I talked about?
So before we get on to the name, I do just want to talk about Mina's dance to Maika's entrance theme. It's my first note. If anyone has any doubts about the chemistry of this team, just watch that dance and the way they all come out. Good God, it felt like go time when she came out, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mina comes out, and you're used to her doing the dance to either her theme or the Cosmic Angels theme when she was part of Cosmic Angels. And you're kind of like, as soon as she comes out, she's ready to go, brother. She's ready to go on the dance. And I was like, they're playing Maika's theme. Obviously, she's the champion as well as it should be. I said, what's this going to be like? And she does a very, very mini version of kind of an original dance to Maika's theme. And I know you're a huge fan of Maika's theme. It's one of your favorite in the history of Stardom. I was like, the fact that Mina is able to kind of choreograph a mini dance for Maika's theme, because I'm assuming when we have these multi-person matches, they're going to be coming out to Maika's theme. She's ready to go. And then Waka comes out. She looks like she wants to dance. And then the dance is over and she just kind of smiles and kind of pops herself. I thought that was great. Poor Waka. We love her, but poor Waka.
I do love the fact that even in the furore of this brand new unit, they're not forgetting the fact that Waka cannot dance. She really does struggle with the moves, and I love that because it adds so much to her character. The match was good. As you mentioned, probably wasn't the best match on the card. I do agree. I think that Blood
Cosmic Angels match was probably the best one on the card. However, it was not about the best match on the card. It was about their dynamic as a team, which was great. It was a great little insight into what the Red Belt match is going to be on Sunday. Maika and Saya Kamatani getting a lot of time to face each other, and they started against each other as well. But Mina Shirakawa and Utami really went to town on each other when they were facing off. And Mina really seems to have been ignited in terms of her sort of ferocity in the ring. She seems completely rejuvenated. For someone who was sort of floundering a bit, completely not her fault, the entirety of her unit was either out injured or had left the company. So she was sort of left to flounder a little bit towards the end of last year. She seems completely rejuvenated here and seems to be ready to properly take it to the next level, and I'm very, very excited for that. Obviously, Maika gets the victory, pinning Lady C with the Enka Toshi. However, we then get the announcement of the name. So the name of this brand new faction is going to be Empress Nexus Venus. Now, that is going to get shortened to EXV, or eNexus V, which is another way of saying it. There are a lot of people saying that is a mouthful, and it is. However, that's nothing to the 2012 team of Kawasaki Katsuhika Saikyu Densetsu, which...
Damn.
Yeah, I know. That was a tag team, which was the team of Natsuki Teo and Yoshiko from back in 2011. There was also a stable, because of course there was, which was Kawasaki Katsushika Saikyu Densetsu +1. Like, how many words do you need? And that was Natsuki Yoshiko and Aki Yasukawa. So think yourselves lucky, ladies and gentlemen, that you don't have to say that every time. I did actually see, I believe it was Shupro, who ran a picture of both Maika and Mina Shirakawa with the new name underneath. And they had it as Empress X Venus, I think. I can't remember how they showed it. No, E Nexus V. That was how they had it. And it looked really quite cool. So give it time. If you're not a fan of the name, that's fine. However, it will eventually grow on you, and trust me, it will work. But also, Matt, Mina Shirakawa challenging for that IWGP Women's Championship. Now, we have spoken about this because we have a very suspicious feeling that this could, in theory, happen in Philadelphia. And if it does, I'm afraid I might pass out.
Yeah, I think I texted you and I said, hey, did you see the two big things to come out of this show that happened in the main event? You said you did. They were very adamant. They find folks over at We Are Stardom and the Stardom social media pages that the match is going to happen, but they did not set a date and time. Now, can they do this match at a Korakuen Hall show to sell tickets? Absolutely. However, I think this is going to happen in Philadelphia, and here's the reasons why. I think this needs to be on a pay-per-view because it's a big, big matchup. Again, the Korakuen shows the past, 5 out of the last 6, they didn't hit the 1,000 mark like how they usually do. So you can put this on a Korakuen and it'll sell 1,200, 1,300 tickets easily. Absolutely. But we have a pay-per-view this weekend, so that's already set in stone. The next 2 pay-per-views before WrestleMania, the WrestleMania weekend, their show on the ECW Arena on 4/4, which, by the way, we were doing a live Stardom Cast podcast afterwards. Not sure if I mention that before. Anywho, are the Cinderella tournament. So can you put this on the final night of the Cinderella tournament if Mayu and Mina aren't in the final 4? If that's the way they do it, how they've been doing it since 2021. Sure, you can put that on there. But I think you really, and I made mention this to you when me and you were texting back and forth, you need a big match on that show. The show, if it hasn't sold out yet, it's going to sell out. You need a big match on that show that's going to literally blow people's mind. And if you read the ticket and the flyer, the show is New Japan Pro Wrestling presents Stardom. So, New Japan Pro Wrestling, they have the IWGP Women's Championship. Again, we know it hasn't been booked great. We talked about that earlier in the show. Regardless, I think they're going to want a New Japan Championship match on the show since they're presenting it. Obviously, Mayu's your champion. Nobody better to represent any wrestling company or any wrestling championship. Mina Shirakawa speaks very good English, and she can transcend into the English audience. I think that people that have never seen Stardom before or have only seen a handful of things, see a Mina, see a Mayu, that is your main event. I think that could, if that is the way they go, it could be one of, if not the best matches on the entire WrestleMania weekend. No disrespect to the fine wrestlers that'll be making millions of dollars wrestling inside where the Eagles play professional football at the Lincoln Stadium. But that would be the match I'm probably looking forward to the most. However, Rob, I'm going to throw something now. I'm about, and I don't know. I haven't heard or confirmed or anybody from Stardom. That's something that I just kind of speculated. Me and you were kind of texting back and forth, and I kind of said, these are the reasons why I think this match is going to happen in Philly. The reasons why I just gave. However, Rob, I'm going to put something else on there as a co-main event match. Now, again, I don't know if this match is going to happen. This match was teased at the beginning of the year. Why not do it in Philly? Rob Goodwin, what would you do if your main event was Mina versus Mayu and your co-main event was Saori Anou defending the Wonder of Stardom Championship against Hazuki? They teased at the beginning of the year. Why not do it here?
Stop it. Stop it, Matt Turner. What are you doing to me, boy?
Yeah, brother. And again, you got to think about it. The perfect storm. We got a lot of things falling in our way, my man. We got the podcast coming up. We got the Stardom Cast beer we're debuting. We got EO more than likely defending the WWE Women's Championship. Daida versus Seth Rollins for the heavyweight championship. I mean, let's keep going, buddy. Let's keep the roulette wheel spinning, my man. We're hitting double zeros over here.
Much I would love that to be the case. I don't think that will happen. I do think we will get at least one towel match on this Philadelphia show. I don't think they'll just do multi-woman tags. I'd be
very, very surprised if they don't have a towel match on there. I mean, they've already sold out the venue, yes, but I can see Stardom wanting to make this more of a thing, more of a, every WrestleMania we're going to come to America, especially once they see the reception that they're going to get. So they're going to want to give people something. So an IWGP Women's title defense would make perfect sense. If we get an
additional title defense, that would be perfect. Do I think it will be the white belt? Unfortunately not. I'd love it to be, and I'd love to see Hazuki win it, because, good God, nobody deserves it more. However, an Artist of Stardom challenge, maybe? I could certainly get behind that. I think God's Eye would be a great title defense for, against anyone for that show. But we'll see. Just going back to EXV, how are you feeling about the name?
It's a mouthful, but at the same time, I'm sure if I was doing this podcast back in 2020, that I would have said the same thing about Donald Del Mundo. But a lot of people just refer to it as DDM. I think for the sake of this podcast, I'm going to refer this to as EXV or Empress X Venus. But hey, you asked me last week what I thought the name of the team was going to be, and I said Empress Venus. They just added the Nexus, the Wade Barrett led group, into the name. But I'm absolutely fine for it. I'm sure that they will do well on merchandise because, first of all, it's Maika. She's fantastic. Mina Shirakawa always sells everything because she's great. So, yeah, I got no problem with the name. I enjoy it, but probably won't be saying Empress Nexus Venus that much on the show, unless you folks demand it, because we just do whatever you tell us to do.
Absolutely. We are huge money lords, so if you want us to do it, we will do it. If they don't come out with Nexus armbands coming out to in the unknown, the proper Nexus theme, I'll be gutted. And also, Stardom, I'm just putting this out there, you dropped the ball in not calling it Boobs and Beer. So, we gave it you, we tossed it up, all you had to do was knock it out of the stadium, and you didn't go for it. We can only do so much, Stardom.
Hold on, Rob. Maybe very much like you have Queen's Quest, but then you have like Aphrodite as Utami and Saya. They can see you can do that very much like I was talking with the Ambush, because we'll get into the Io Kairi watch when it's like we were watching Kairi and Asuka, and it came up that, Kabuki Warriors. She goes, I thought that was Damage Control. I'm like, no, that's the team name. She goes, so they have a sub-team name in there? And I said, yeah, like Queen's Quest and Aphrodite. There you go, buddy. We can do it there. Why not,
Imagine your winners of the 2024 Tag League, Boobs and Beer. Oh, it would be incredible. And if not, we'll just use it as the third towel for our Stardom Cast beer. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on away from this show. Next week, obviously, there was a show on the 28th, but that hasn't been uploaded to Stardom World yet, so we will tag that on to next week. And obviously I know we're not done with the podcast yet, I'm just giving you a sort of insight to what we're going to be talking about next week. We'll have the second show, so from the 28th we'll be talking about that. We'll also have the show from Kyoto, which is on the 3rd, the night before the pay-per-view, and we'll go through that card in a moment. And then we've also got the pay-per-view Stardom Supreme fight we have got on the 4th of February, live on pay-per-view. And Matt, how much better is it, and I said this last week, how much better is it having this extended time between pay-per-views to give feuds time to grow, time to build? Because before, a feud between Maika and Saya Kamatani with 2 pay-per-views a month could quite easily have been rushed and overlooked. However, here, it's been built, it's been simmering, and now I am so ready to see them go at it at this show.
Yeah, and the same thing with Starlight Kid and Sayoriano. They did a great job building that up. And then, we obviously, because there was so much going on in that main event between the name and Mina challenging Mayu, and the fingers crossed we get that match in Philly. But a good crux of the match they did building up Mike and Saya Kamatani, which they've done in previous shows as well. They're giving it time to breathe. They're giving it time to grow. I'm interested to see, how much they draw on this show. I believe this is the same venue that they ran last year with Giulia versus Suzuki on top. Considering the fact that it's not rushed, there's not 1,000 shows going on, it's properly built up, just to see how Maika, she had that big, the chase for the title. Now she's the champion. Can she draw tickets and sell tickets as the champion? So I'm interested to see that fact. And then obviously the match is going to be stellar. And Stardom, like you said, great job giving things time to breathe for matches, time to build. again, not only building up these 2 main event matches, but building up Yuzuki for her challenge against Rina for the Future of Stardom Championship. I haven't looked forward to a Future of Stardom match this much since Hanan was the champion, and that has nothing to do with the fact that she had the banger of a theme back then. But regardless.
Yeah, I'm still not used to her coming out to that theme. It's just like, oh, for God's sake. Just for comparison's sake, the 12th anniversary Supreme fight, which was sort of used as their anniversary show as it is this year, exact same day or exact same date last year, drew in 1,800 people, 1,832 people to be exact. So that's the number that Stardom are certainly going to be aiming for. It would not surprise me if Stardom outdrew this, simply because they are not oversaturating the market in the same way as they were last year. Because don't forget, this was sort of smack dab in the middle of the Triangle Derby. So there'd already been a whole host of shows. And that was a good card. Don't get me wrong, you got Saya Kamatani versus Momo Watanabe, you got 7-Up versus Mai Himi, which was great, Chihiro Hashimoto versus Mirai, and then of course Giulia versus Suzu Suzuki. But I argue that this card that we have got coming up might be better, and I think Stardom are going to do well off the fact that they aren't sort of clogging up the airwaves with even more shows. I think that's going to play an advantage. So don't be surprised if they hit around this number or even exceed it. We will see. We'll go through the card then. So the 4th of February show, Edion Arena, Osaka, 13th anniversary Stardom Supreme fight. The full card we sort of talked about last week, but we'll go through match by match and sort of give our predictions and things like that. In the opener, at the moment, it doesn't look like there is a pre-show match, but if there is, the chances are it will be this one. A three-way match, Mai Sakurai versus Hanako versus Rana Yagami. Matt, I feel like you've got to go for Hanako in this one, haven't you? Part of a brand new faction in EXV. Rana Yagami is in there, bless her, to take the pinfall, I feel. And even though they are hot on Mai Sakurai, Stardom have also shown that it doesn't matter if Mai Sakurai doesn't win. She will still do her shtick at the end of the match. So I'm looking forward to seeing the hat and how big it has grown. But I do think Hanako, just to give her a little bit of a boost as being part of this brand new faction, gets the win here. What about you?
Yeah, it should be interesting. Again, you got Hanako and Rana, who are 2 rookies. And again, I mentioned a little bit ago that Sakurai is able to lead a match with 1 rookie. Can she do it in a 3-way, which they're tough to do because they're not even numbers, with 2 rookies? So that's going to be interesting, but I agree. Hanako really needs the win here. She's part of the new faction. It'd be a good way to kind of build up the faction, considering the fact that I don't know what's going to happen in that other tag match, which we'll get into. But yeah, Hanako is here to get the win over Rana Yagami, and then Mai Sakurai will do her shtick. So everybody will play role in the finish and the post-match.
Absolutely. 6-woman tag team match then next, with the Queen's Quest team of Lady C and Miyu Wamasaki teaming with Sayaka Kurora, taking on the Ueda Tai team of Natsuki Tora, Momo Watanabe, and Ruaka. Matt, who have you got and why?
I am going to go with the Ueda Tai team. I just think because they're more cohesive of a unit, and you have 2 of the main eventers here, with Momo Watanabe and Ruaka. And no disrespect, I love me some Queen's Quest, but we have Miyu and Lady C, who are not the main members of Queen's Quest. But I think Sayaka Kurora will eat the fall. This should be a good, entertaining match. I don't see it going too long. I just hope we get a Lady C and Momo Watanabe chop kickoff. But yeah, I'm going to say the Ueda Tai team picks up the W.
I am just going to say I can't believe that you've just referred to Ruaka as a main eventer. I'm assuming you mean Tora.
No. Yeah, that's what I meant. I'm sorry.
I was like, I'm sure he means Tora. I agree with you. I think we talked a little bit about potential challenges for the Artist of Stardom belts, and we were looking at Ueda Tai as a solid defense. Is Ruaka going to be a part of that team? I don't know. Whether they'll put Tora, Starlight Kid, and Momo together as a proper Ueda Tai A team, I don't know. But I think Sayaka Kurora, I mentioned it before, is 0-9 in matches this year. I don't see her getting the victory here. I think she is there to eat the pinfall. It would be nice to see Ruaka get the pinfall just because she does eat a lot of pins for Oedo Tai. We have a tag team match next with Amisori and Saki Kashima taking on the Wingori team of Saida and Hanan. Hanan, who's got a brand new graphic on this match card, looking absolutely fantastic. Matt, who have you got here and why?
This should be, get as stacked as this card is. This is one that kind of low key can steal the undercard. Wingori, one of our favorite teams in Stardom. Saki Kashima does a great job with her shtick. Amisori's been great coming off the 5-star. And again, we talked about letting things breathe. Hanan and Amisori have this low key, really violent feud going on at the beginning of this year, and then you have them in this tag match. This is a tough one for me to pick because you can obviously them having Amisori getting a big pinfall victory over any of the members of Wingori, or Saki Kashima using the Kishi Kasai. But I guess a tough one to call, but I'm going to say the Wingori team wins, but really flip a coin on this one.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because even in the Artist of Stardom title defense, where Hanan was the one to take the pinfall, Amisori sort of stoked that fire a little bit post-match. So there's clearly something building between those two. Are we building towards Amisori and another partner going for those New Blood tag titles again? Maybe. I know Wingori have already defended against the Reiwa Tokyo Towers, Amisori and Lady C. So maybe not. Maybe they'll give someone else a chance, in which case maybe they'll give Hanan her win back over the God's Eye team. That's the way I'm going. I think Hanan will get the pinfall over Amisori, but you never bet against Saki Kashima in multi-women matches. I would not be surprised if God's Eye walk out of this as the winners of this one. The first of our title matches, and one that has the potential to really blow away this card, and that's the High Speed Championship match. Mai Sarah, the champion, in her 4th title defense against the challenger Hazuki. Matt, I think Mai Sarah is going to retain, but this I am incredibly excited for.
Yeah, if you look at this on paper, if you're like calling this as 100% shoot, like an MMA fight, Hazuki's the favorite in this match just because she's the more seasoned veteran. She has had a lot of success with the High Speed Championship. She's way more violent than Mai Sarah, but to be honest, she's probably more violent than, some kaiju monsters because it's Hazuki, and we love her. But yeah, it's what does Hazuki gain by a High Speed Championship reign? I wouldn't be, if they're like, hey, we have nothing really for Hazuki to do, let's have her go back into the High Speed division and do like high speed violence. I'm all for that, but I think Mai Sarah is the perfect person to keep elevating the belt that Azumi did such a great job in 2022 with in the High Speed Championship. I say Mai Sarah wins. But this is going to be a don't blink and you'll miss it, and you'll probably get hit right in the head with some crazy Hazuki violence. Well, we've also seen Mai when she's wrestling these, harder hitter wrestlers. We saw the matches with Nanai, Giulia, so on and so forth, that she really does a great job bringing, a lot of hard hitting action to her high speed offense. So yeah, this is going to be a really good one, but I see Mai retaining here.
Yeah, I do as well. Over or under, Matt, do you think this match goes over or under, say, 7 minutes?
I'm going to say it goes over. And I hope it does just because these two are great. Can they have an entertaining match in 5-6 minutes? Yes. We've seen Hazuki when she was the high speed champion. She was able to do that. But I would like to see this match get 8 or 9 minutes or even longer to go out there and tell their story. But regardless, if it goes 5 or 6 minutes, it's going to be it's going to be one of the best short matches you've ever seen.
Of the 4 title matches, do you think this is the most likely we are to see a title change, or do you think that could be the next match, the Future of Stardom Championship match?
The future.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that now. So we have got the Future of Stardom Championship match with the champion, Rina, who is on 264 days as champion, making her 5th title defense against Stars' Yuzuki. I agree with you, Matt. I think if we're going to see a title change on this show, and I'm not sure we're going to, but if we are, then I think it's going to be here. However, Rena's been doing brilliant work with this future belt. Are they ready to have her lose the belt and be pushed into something new? I don't see why they would at the moment. There's no pressing urge for her to be pushed into the lower mid card, that artist and goddess sort of region, because she's not on the card full time. She's still at school. It makes perfect sense for her to just remain the future of Stardom champion. For me, anyway. You put it on Yuzuki, yes, it's going to be on every show. However, I don't feel there is the need to take the belt off Rena yet. Or am I just being naive, Matt?
You're absolutely right. At the same time, they've done a great job. We talked about it earlier, building Yuzuki up. If you're asking my pick, it's Yuzuki, but I'm not really sure on it. And there's a couple matches on this card that I feel that way. I'm really not sure which way they're going to go. I think they're in a win-win situation. You have Yuzuki red hot, probably the hottest rookie they've had since Utami. And Utami's doing fairly well for herself. I don't think anybody's going to argue with me on that point. But at the same time, you have a lot going on with Rena with that future belt. You've set up a future match with Miyu Amasaki somewhere down the line. At the same time, they could have Yuzuki win it, and then at the next New Blood show, they run it back and have Rena win it. I know Stardom really doesn't like flip-flop titles like that, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they did that with the future Stardom Championship with Yuzuki and Rena. I'm going to say Yuzuki wins it, but I would not be shocked if Rena retains, which, again, is great booking because you built Yuzuki up, over these last 3 or 4 weeks on these shows, giving her good outings, giving her good wins. You put her with stars, and then just to build her up to have Rena beat her, I got no problem with that because I think Rena's absolutely fantastic.
Interestingly, then, we have got Tam Nakano's return match. I know this is Matt's main event. Tam returning to action for the first time since October, having vacated the red belt. She is teaming with Cosmic Angel Yuna Mizumori, taking on EXV team of
Mina Shirakawa and Waka Tsukiyama. This is a difficult one simply because you've got EXV, who are the new hot upcoming faction. You've got that feud between Tam and Mina that I am more than ready for them to rekindle and for Mina to get her win back. But also, it's Tam's return match. So do you go 15-minute time limit draw? Or do you have Tam pin Waka? Or do you have Mina pin Yuna? This, for me, of all the matches on the card, this is the hardest to call. Whatever the result, though, it is so good to see Tam on a card again.
Rob, I totally agree with you. You made mention a little bit ago that you think that Stardom is going to draw more than 1,800 people. And I think if it is, kudos to the matches on top, but I think a lot of the drawing, whether they get to that 1,800, whether they get to 1,500, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Tam's returning. It's creating a lot of buzz having her back. We joke into the whole me and Tam thing and how much I love Tam, and I do. I think Tam's great. We lean into it a lot for a bit for the show, and it is kind of funny. But at the same time, you can't deny that she has absolute star power. And Stardom has definitely been suffering a little bit with her off the card. I think they're going to do well with her on the card. Now, originally when this match was announced, I was like, okay, this will be great because Tam's back. It's a win over Waka. But now you have this new faction that you're putting a lot of stock into. Do you have them lose here? Then again, at the same time, it's Tam's return. I don't see Yuna getting the 1, 2, 3. I don't see Waka getting the 1, 2, 3. It's either going to be Tam or Mina. This is a tough 1-2 call. I'm going to say that Mina beats Yuna, and then thus afterwards we have a little face-to-face confrontation with Tam and Mina, thus building to a special singles match with the two of them. Obviously, they've had, when Tam was a Wonder of Stardom Championship match, before Mina really exploded into the phenomenal worker that she is now. You had that match there. We had the double title match back at Flashing Champions of last month. I know I say this a lot. A lot of people didn't agree with the decision. I agree. Go watch the match. It's a great match. Rob and I have done alternate commentary on it. It's a phenomenal match. You don't need a champion. You don't need a title match between Tam and Mina. It can be just a special match that you put on a show. At the same time, what if Mina defeats Mayu for the IWGP championship match, and then you put it there? There's a whole bunch of several ways that you can go here. I think that it doesn't hurt Tam at all for Tam's team to eat the L here, just to heat up the new faction. Again, I agree with you, partner. This is the toughest one for me to call. I'm going to say that Mina gets the win here, and then we really start to spark another Mina versus Tam feud, which I am all for.
Let's move on then. We have got the 13th anniversary special 8-woman tag match with the team of Mayu Iwatani, Utami Hayashishita, Azumi, and Nanai Takahashi, taking on Giulia, Shiori, Mirai, and Suzu Suzuki. I mean, obviously, we're the winners. And I feel like if there is a match that's going to go to a 15-minute time limit draw, it's probably this one, Matt. But I'm actually going to go for Giulia's team. I think Giulia's team are going to win. And I think they're going to pin Nanai Takahashi. No, of course, they're not going to pin Nanai Takahashi. I think Giulia is probably going to pin Azumi. Or actually, no, I think Suzu is probably going to pin Azumi. However, it's going to be a great showcase match for Stardom without a shadow of a doubt.
I am going to go with a time limit draw on this one because, Rob, if you were to take this graphic and turn it upside down and zoom in on it, you actually see Rossio Gawa's hat. I'm totally joking. I just figured I figured since you were throwing a joke about Nanai Takahashi taking a fall here. Yeah, I mean, who eats the pinfall here? I guess if anybody, it's going to be Azumi, or maybe we see maybe Giulia again because she's on her way out. But who does she put over? I mean, guess maybe Azumi would get the most of it. And at the same time, we do have Suzu that wants to challenge Mayu for the IWGP Championship. So maybe we get some interactions there. I just think with these 8 women, again, the fact that you have the ALK sisters on one team, Giulia's been teaming with Suzu Suzuki, Shuri and Mirai, they're part of God's Eye. And then you have the Queen's Quest duo of Utami and Azumi. I just think there's too many moving parts in a good way for everybody to kind of get their stuff in, get the psychology in, and for the story to tell, for that to go less than 15 minutes. I would like for it to go 15 minutes because I think that's where we get the best match. So I'm going to say time limit draw. But you make a good point that if anybody's going to eat a fall here, it's Nanai. I mean Azumi.
Shuri and Mirai, the pot of God's eye.
Gentlemen, Rob Goodwin, spinning all your favorites at Jack's Bar and Grill in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Lovely book. Amazing.
After party. That's what we're going to do. Once we have Rob just pollute it with Stardom Cast beer and shots of Jack Daniels around 9:30, Rob is going to DJ a set that he won't remember until I wake him up at 11 o'clock to go to the TJPW show the next morning. So
I forgot we were going to the TJPW show afterwards. Oh my God, I might not make it.
I'll swat you up, my man. Don't worry about it. I'll get you there.
Thanks, man. So now we have got the 2 big matches, the 2 big title matches. Wonder of Stardom Championship match. Sioriano taking on Starlight Kid in Sioriano's first title defense. First thing to note is that on this graphic, that Wonder of Stardom belt is looking very battered. We need some titivating and some TLC to that white belt. Again, I think this is going to be a fantastic match. I think we've seen from the prelude tags just how good these two are together. Starlight Kid is a phenomenal talent and has phenomenal upside. I feel like there is a very slim possibility that they would put the white belt on Starlight Kid here. However, it's going to be Sioriano. Let's be perfectly honest here. Sioriano is going to retain here. In my head, Sioriano retains until Natsupoi comes back. Whether Stardom will wait that long before taking the belt off a freelancer, I don't know. But that is in my head what we're going to get. I can see this one going 17, 18, 19 minutes and it being absolutely blow away. You've got Starlight Kid's speed and deceptive power as well. And then you've got Sioriano, who is perhaps the most elastic person not called Mayu Iwatani on this entire roster. It is going to be a very, very exciting match. However, for me, Sioriano makes her first successful title defense here.
Rob, I agree. I think these last 2 matches, why they're the most predictable, because they're both the V1s, I think they're going to be the best of the show. And again, I'm not one of those, oh, well, it's predictable who's going to win. That takes away my enjoyment. You're just foolish if that's how you think. And I feel bad for you. So I agree with everything you said. This is going to be absolute blow away. This is going to be just another phenomenal match in the history of the Wonder of Stardom Championship. This might be the match that we've been waiting for Starlight Kid to have since losing in 2022 to Saya Kamatani for the Wonder of Stardom Championship, where maybe she can kind of stay at that main event or co-main event level where she really, really belongs because she's so good. So I think Saori Anou wins this match, and my far-fetched prediction that pretty much won't happen is that Hazuki comes out and then she just points up to the air. Everyone's like, what's she pointing at? And all of a sudden, the Philadelphia WrestleMania logo appears, and it doesn't say WrestleMania, it says Stardom Mania. So there you go, buddy.
It's either going to be that or just the podcast artwork is going to go down, just like a WrestleMania sign. It would look incredible. Let's be perfectly honest.
Yeah, we know some talented people. Maybe we can kind of superimpose that in, my man. This AI stuff that's coming out is crazy. So I don't know. Maybe we can figure that out.
That is true. Maybe that could be the next thing we do. And then in your main event, the generational rivalry, the red belt match, World of Stardom Championship. Maika, the 17th World of Stardom champion, making her first title defense against the Golden Phoenix and her, as I mentioned, generational rival, Saya Kamatani. This is going to be incredibly exciting. It really is. I'm so happy to see Saya back. Maika and this red belt just look right together. If you think about where Maika was when Himika retired and how she literally post 5-star just took off, she really did just sort of soar into this main event spot. And I do think Maika retains here, but I can't see it being long. In fact, it would not surprise me if they did with Saya Kamatani what they did with the white belt. So before Saya beat Tam at Dream Queendom for the white belt, she had previously lost to Tam for the white belt. It wouldn't surprise me if Maika defeats Saya Kamatani here, goes on a run, takes on, 4, 5, 6 even title defenses, and it comes to Saya again, and Saya takes the red belt. However, here, for this first title defense for Maika, has to be Maika.
Rob, you very easily can do what they did with Giulia 2 years ago, where at World Climax Night 1, she lost to Sherry, and she went on to win the 5-star Grand Prix and then defeated Sherry at the end of the year. You can very much do that with Saya. Why not? Copying it, getting it. I think it works perfectly here. You have Maika. Again, I think Maika's going to win. You have Maika win here. Saya, keep in mind, one half of the Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Champions with Utami, and they're doing phenomenal work. You just kind of focus on that until you get to the 5-star, and then have Saya win that. And then at the end of this year, that's your main event match. I've been mentioned before, Rob, my all-time favorite Maika match is her match with Saya Kamatani for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. Maika has all this momentum, obviously, since the start of the 5-star into right now, is a better performer now than she was then, and she was great then. Don't get me wrong. And again, that's my favorite. It's a 5-star match in my opinion. Her match with Saya for the Wonder of Stardom Championship back in the spring of 2022. Saya Kamatani is since coming back, is on a completely different level as far as the aura goes. Not that she didn't have it before, but there's just something about her now that she's been back. She just feels like such a bigger star. And we talked about it before when we were kind of doing mini previews of this match, that Saya Kamatani did say that she needed to change her style up a little bit to avoid injury because she wants to be wrestling for quite a long time. We've seen that she doesn't do the 450 splash or the Phoenix splash anymore. She hasn't since she's come back and she's done the Phoenix strike. I think there's any match where she's going to go to the top rope and do a risk, whether it's the Phoenix splash or the 450, it's got to be here because this is pretty much the biggest match of her career. Now, she has challenged for this belt before back at Budokan Hall at All-Star Dream Cinderella against Utami Hayashishita, but she's a well more seasoned wrestler now than she was then. I don't think anybody can deny that fact. If this match is just as good as that Maika versus Saya Kamatani match from 2022, we are in for a treat. But I fully expect Maika to hit probably a series of Anko Toshi and maybe back-to-back Michinoku drivers to put Saya Kamatani away. But again, the 2 championship matches back-to-back, the Wonder and World, It's one of the many reasons why we love Stardom so much, because these have the potential to be anywhere between 4.5 to 5-star matches back to back.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, you've said about Saya Kamatani not wanting to risk things. We did see her hit a top rope Frankensteiner in that 17th anniversary match. So, 17th anniversary. 13th anniversary match. So, you know, she is still breaking out those incredibly dangerous moves. But yeah, we'll see what she brings out. I completely agree with you. It was how she beat
Cinderella tournament back in 2021 was with the Phoenix Splash. I think it'd be poetic if she maybe loses this match, teetering on that top rope, looking for the Phoenix Splash that she knew beat Michael last time. And then maybe when it does come round to the rematch, that's how she beats her, just breaks out that nuclear finish that is the Phoenix Splash. All in all, though, Matt, this is going to be an absolutely phenomenal card. I'm very, very excited about it. Stardom, for me, after a ropey year, has done very little wrong in the first month, what will be a month and a bit of 2024. And I do put Dream Queendom 2023 in that as well, which was a great show and made all the right decisions. It does look like Stardom is going the right way, and I'm very, very excited about that. Before we talk about what is coming up next week, Matt, it's only time for Io and Kairi Watch.
Rob Goodwin, I am so glad that we named this segment Io and Kairi Watch, because there's 3 shows we're going to talk about. There was a lot of Kairi, and the only thing that Io did was watch. I'm so proud of myself. I waited all day on that one, my friend. Anywho, okay, so we have 3 shows to talk about. We're going to talk about SmackDown this past Friday, the Royal Rumble, and Monday Night Raw from this past Monday. So, SmackDown, we have Carter and Chance, the women's tag team champions, defending against the Kabuki Warriors of Kairi and Asuka. So Carter comes out of the gate fast, fires off a quick dropkick on Asuka. We get great tag works back and forth from the champs. They eventually send Kairi and Asuka to the floor. Chance, about 2 minutes in the match, is a beautiful corkscrew plancha onto the floor. Eventually, we see Asuka and Kairi able to rally after the commercial break. That's one of the things I don't like about commercials, but I understand they pay the bills, because all of a sudden it comes back on and Asuka and Kairi have heat on Chance. Don't know how they got there, but regardless, I get it. I understand. It is a business, folks. Chance sends Asuka to the floor. Carter tags herself in, and then she hits a perfect plancha to the floor. We get some back and forth, some teamwork between both teams, some really, really good stuff. Eventually, we see Kairi and Asuka hitting the phenomenal teamwork that they're all so known for. They do this really cool spot where they have Carter in the middle of the ring, and Kairi hits that sliding D, and Asuka hits a sliding kick to the back. Really, really good stuff. The crowd is red hot at this point. They're really kind of going back and forth, but very much like an Io-led Queen's Quest when Io's supposed to be the heel. Io's so darn good that you can't boo her. This is very much like what is going on with Damage Control. You just can't boo. So a lot of the crowd, they're not booing Carter and Chance. They're more or less cheering Kairi and Asuka. Again, it's really tough to get them over his heels because they're so darn good, so entertaining. Kairi goes for the insane elbow. However, Carter gets the feet up and just basically almost boots poor Kairi into the face. Carter hits Asuka with a flatliner. Champs hit their tag finisher, the cake stand, for a 2 count. Kairi eventually breaks up the fall onto Asuka. Kairi sends Chance to the floor. She hits a Tokyo Slam onto the table. Asuka hits a brutal head kick onto Carter and eventually tags in Kairi. Kairi hits an assisted insane elbow to a huge pop, and an even bigger pop is when the ref counts to 3. That's exactly what you want if you're a babyface team, is to get the big pop on the finish and then a bigger pop on the 3 count, very much like we saw Maika with Suzu at Dream Queendom. And we have new tag team champions of Kairi and Asuka, which is an absolute phenomenal match. And I advise everybody to go out of your way to go see it. Excellent stuff. Obviously, Kairi and Asuka, we're huge fans of. Carter and Chance, I've been a big fan of these two since they were Canizaro and Carter back in the NXT days. And I knew when this match was announced, it would be good. And it was very, very good. Excellent match. We then go on to Saturday, the Royal Rumble, where Kairi comes out number 11. She lasts all of about 5 minutes into the Rumble, and she's eventually eliminated by the former champs, Carter and Chance, which eventually leads into something else I'll get into a moment. I'm sure everybody's seen it because it's probably been gifted to death, where Kyrie was doing her best Kofi Kingston impersonation, where she was hanging onto like the LED board on the apron, and I've seen that it's been superimposed with Batman's wings on, and as well as the Tobey Maguire second Spider-Man movie when he's holding the tray. And I was just like, if you're gonna compare any Joshi wrestler to Spider-Man, it may as well be Kyrie. I was like, because they got rid of her, and I knew she wasn't winning, right? And I know we both figured that Bayley was going to win because that was the story. And I was watching this with my wife, and I was like, oh my God, they're getting rid of Kyrie in 5 minutes? And I was like, oh, they're totally doing like the Kofi Kingston tease. Where are they going with it? And she held on, and then just dropped. And I was like, aw. But regardless, and I thought it was cool because Carter and Chance, it took the former tag champs, considering the fact that the belts changed on Friday. This show was Saturday. So they're kind of keeping something there. Where they were going on Sunday, I didn't know until Monday Night Raw happens. Again, a big thank you to our friend Darren Chatton, who sent me a message very much like he did last week saying, hey, you need to watch Monday Night Raw because EO was on it because she was watching, but the Kabuki Warriors were on. This was a women's non-title tag team match. And again, when Darren told me the match was Asuka and Kyrie versus Natty and Tegan Knox, I was like, this is going to be very good. Robus was not very good. Let's leave it at that. Yes, this, for some reason, it just didn't gel. The crowd didn't care. Natty did a great job she attempted to try to get the crowd involved. It just didn't seem like these teams gelled at all, which I figured they would have, because Natty and Asuka, they both worked at hard-hitting, shoot style wrestling. Tegan Knox, who has wrestled in Stardom before, and Kyrie's great. I figured they would have found a way, but again, the less said that is better. It just wasn't good. It just didn't gel. Maybe somewhere down the line they'll have a rematch and they'll figure it out. I'm a big fan of all four of these wrestlers. I'm a big fan of the Natty and Tegan Knox team. And again, obviously, Kyrie and Asuka are great. It just didn't work. However, after the match, Carter and Chance in a backstage segment did say that they did talk to Adam Pearce. And next week on Monday Night Raw, it'll be Carter and Chance rematching Asuka and Kyrie for the Women's Tag Team Championship. So I'm excited for the rematch. After the match, Bayley came out with all members of Damage Control. And then looked like she was going to challenge Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley came out. We were able to see Io in the background. You know what she was doing, Rob? She was watching. Rhea Ripley came out, and then she was quickly jumped by Nia Jax, so we didn't get any official anything that what Bayley's going to do. But all roads lead to that it's going to be Io versus Bayley at WrestleMania, because I think they're going to go with Becky versus Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. Now, Rob, I know this is the Stardom Cast. However, I do want to make mention, Punk and Seth Rollins was more than likely going to be main event on night one of WrestleMania. And I'm a firm believer whoever wins the Royal Rumble should always main event WrestleMania. Now it's a 2-night deal. So I always say that the women should main event night one, the men should main event night two. And I've said that since this thing's been 2 nights over the past few years. Am I just blinded by my love for one Io Shirai? Or now that the fact that we don't get Punk and Rollins, you think Io and Bayley should main event night one of WrestleMania?
I do think you're blinded by your love for Io Shirai, but I don't think that's anything to do with it. It does make sense. It's 2 nights WrestleMania. You've got 2 Royal Rumbles. It's always been a case of, well, main event WrestleMania. When they get rounded with that time on a tradition of calling it a special main event, second from the bottom or something. I would like to see Bayley and Io as the main event of night one. I think that's a story that they've told very well over the past couple of months. However, if they're going to do a main event, I think it will be Rhea and Becky over Io and Bayley. Is that right? For me, no. Not just because I love Io Shirai, not because I'm a massive fan of Bayley. I just think that you've got 2 incredible stars in Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch, and I just think the WWE would put them on top. That's what I think anyway.
Good point. Good point.
But, ladies and gentlemen, that does bring us nearly to the end of our podcast. As I said before, next week, Stardom are in Kyoto on Saturday in the gorgeous KBS Hall for Stardom in Kyoto. That card has been announced. Of course, this is the night before the pay-per-view. We've got a three-way, which is Lady C, Meisera, and Sayaka Kurora. A tag match, we've got Hazuki and Sayarida taking on Amisori and Saki Kashima. A six-woman tag, we'll see Mayu Iwatani, Hanan, and Yuzuki take on the God's Eye team of Shiori Mirai and Rana Yagami. In another six-woman tag, we've got Giulia, Suzu Suzuki, Mei Sakurai, and Mei Sakurai's incredible hat taking on Natsukatora, Momo Watanabe, and Ruaka of Oedatai. And then we have got two more white belt and red belt preludes with Saori Anou and Yuna Mizumori taking on Starlight Kid and Rina. And then on top, you've got an eight-woman tag, EXV, Maika, Mina, Shirakawa, Waka, Tsukiyama, and Hanako taking on the Queen's Quest team of Utami, Saika Matani, Azumi, and Miyu Amasaki. So we will have next week our full rundown of the show from Tokorozawa, which was on the 28th of January. We'll also have our rundown of the Kyoto show if it's up on Stardom World, and we will have our review of the 13th anniversary Stardom Supreme Fight 2024 show as well. So plenty to look forward to next week. We look forward to seeing you there. But ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We truly do appreciate every single one of you. If you haven't already, click subscribe on whatever podcast app you use. We are literally everywhere. If you're not already a Patreon subscriber, you can go and subscribe, patreon.com/the Stardom Cast, for all sorts of bonus content and every episode of the Stardom Cast early and ad-free for as little as $1 a month. You can go check out the website, www.thestardomcast.com. We're everywhere on social media at the Stardom Cast. If you want a free way to help out the podcast, leaving us a 5-star review and a comment on the podcast app of your choice really, really, really does help us out. If you want to talk to me for some reason, then please feel free. I'm at Real Rob Goodwin on Twitter. Matt Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Absolutely, folks. Questions, comments. I will be more than likely watching the pay-per-view live. So if you want to comment on it and follow me along on Twitter, the best way to get a hold of me, Matt Turner OF, on the Instagram and or the Twitter. Again, questions, comments, any suggestions for the live Stardom Cast show, just let me know. You want to shoot me an email, perfectly fine as well. The StardomCast22@gmail.com is the best way to get a hold of me via email. Folks, that's going to wrap up another fun-filled episode. I hope you were phenomenally entertained, as well as myself and Rob entertained ourselves. Greatly appreciate the support. Cannot do the show without you, because like I always say, just not my podcast, it's our podcast, because we're all together. Everybody's special, everybody's different. Everybody's different, everybody's special. Yikes.
Nice.